Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Brother John Hargrove, Service President for Division 421 of UNIA-ACL here in Atlanta. Today's February 8th, 2025, Saturday. It's a little after noon, 8 minutes after noon here on the East Coast in Atlanta. And we will be continuing our discussion of UNIA-ACL Constitution. So, any questions, comments, concerns we may have today will be one of the days in which we can go over some of those questions. So, as always, we want to make sure we open up our meetings properly. So, let me pull up a pledge for everybody. So, I think we're going to be here. Yeah, break it down for everybody this is how we present our pledge in presentation format. So it's a good teaching tool as well, in a way that we've taught to memorize the pledge to the UNIA flag, the commitment, the dedication, the acceptance, the promise, the why, and the how. So if everyone would please come off mute, put your black fist in the air, and repeat after me. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green.
I commit my
My
body
body to the mind, the spirit of the red, black, and green.
Okay. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children.
I dedicate my
Living
life to the
life.
redemption of the Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism.
I
I
accept for
accept for
myself
myself the teaching of the universe, Africa, nationalism.
And I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people.
And I
Promise.
promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose of knowledge of themselves as
as
African people.
In order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail.
in
In order that
In
the
order the
cause of
cause of the
struggle will
struggle
be a
another
falter
or
or
fail
fail.
until
Until
all
all
black
Black
people
people
are
are free
free.
and united
Until all black people are free and united
through one God,
through
One
one God,
God,
one aim,
one
one
aim,
aim,
and one destiny.
and
one
one
destiny.
destiny.
Race first, family. Okay,
Race first.
beneath the lines. Let me go to a little bit of
Damn.
background of the importance of the Constitution before we go into the Constitution. Because I know some may be asking, we always want to know why. What is the purpose of the program? Constitution. Why would we focus on a particular topic? So we'll talk about that. Here we go. Well, first and foremost, want to touch on why the Constitution before we even look at the Constitution. Um, and Mr. Garvey teaches us in the course of African philosophy. The lesson here is history, lesson 21. It's the history of the UNIA-ACL. And there's a subsection in that lesson called How to Teach the UNIA. And we should all know, Course of African Philosophy is the closest thing to a book that Mr. Garvey ever wrote himself. So these are Mr. Garvey's words at the age of 50 years old. He says to teach or to know what the UNIA is, you must first read its constitution and book of laws from cover to cover. He continues, says you must also read the literature written by the founder bearing on the activities of the organization. Then back to the Constitution, he says the preamble of the Constitution is vitally important to those who are to interpret its supreme object. So he's talking about the supreme object of the UNIA. If we are to interpret that supreme object, the preamble of the Constitution is vitally important in that interpretation. Whenever the purpose of the organization is challenged by foes in particular, quote the preamble of the Constitution. This should be done especially when the organization's enemies assail it before a court of law or before government authorities. We'll read a little bit more. He says the preamble was written especially for the purpose of winning the sympathy and support of alien races, where the other objects of the association are being threatened by hostility. Okay, so that's all we'll talk about from Course of African Philosophy. The Constitution is the guiding directives of the UNIA. That is how we function, is how we work. It is our highest document. Let me pull it up online. I had a offline version. And I'll show you where everyone can access a copy of the UNIA Constitution. So if you go to the UNIA-ACL government webpage, UNIA-ACLgovernment.com, our homepage. Did I hit record? Yeah, I'm recording. Okay. And at the top search bar, there's a tab Constitution. Read our Constitution. And you can also download a version of this Constitution as well. This Constitution is from 1938, or is it 1930? Yeah, 1938, with the amendments of 1938. We value this Constitution, although this isn't the most recent Constitution. The most recent Constitution was amended last in 2021. So there is an updated version. However, from a study standpoint, we decide to work from this document from the 1938 for different leadership reasons. So any questions or comments before we go into the first section of the Constitution, the preamble?
Me myself, race first.
Brother
I
J-
like to get a copy of the that we have to speak about before we start.
the pledge.
Yes.
I got you. If you could put a contact in the chat, Sister Cecily. If you can make a note to remind me to get Brother James a copy of our pledge. Email would be the best way. I can send you the PDF, or not a PDF, it's a PowerPoint slide that has it.
All right.
Thank you. So, all right. Thank you. Yeah. Got you, Brother James. I remember your email. Sister Cecily, please. Sister Cecily, there, can you please confirm that you got that?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, thank you. Just remind, we'll get that to him. All right, preamble, one of the most important sections of our Constitution. The very first thing that we look at on the cover page, just to be fair, we'll look at the cover page. Sister Ma'at, if you could put your email in the chat, Sister Cecily, if you grab that as well. For the first part of the Book of Laws comprising article, well, this is some additions that came later, a little bit of a table of contents. But this is the Constitution. I'll nitpick it. Preamble. Officers, we should memorize this preamble. It should be committed to memory. We should be able to recite it, at the drop of a hat. So whenever anyone asks about the UNIA, who we are, what we represent, we should be able to recite the preamble, which states the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world, and their members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. Oh, thank you, Brother Omasius. I meant to be sharing the preamble. I'll read it again. Thank you, Brother Mason. I was sharing the wrong page. Preamble. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. Maybe make a couple co-hosts. We've spent, yeah, we've got a very in-depth discussion that we've done on the preamble. I'm not going to repeat that today, um, but it is important that we understand the meaning of a lot of these words and how that applies, how we carry out the vision of these different ideals. So, UNIA-ACL is, give me 1 second, please. Our co-host, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. But we must understand the importance of each of the words social. The UNIA-ACL being a social organization, a social society. How does that look? How does that function? Are we hosting social gatherings? Give me one moment. I gotta send the invitation for tonight's meeting, for this meeting to our co-host. He's having trouble joining. Social friendly. What does it look like to be a friendly society? Are we carrying out those characteristics and behaviors of a friendly society? Humanitarian, that's a very broad one. I love that one. What does that look like? What are our limitations in regards to humanitarian work in our communities, specifically for our people? Charitable, my officers, our division knows my thoughts on charity and what it looks like to be a charitable organization. In the past, we've had charitable programs where we, either provide, usually food, seldomly we'll provide clothing to the community, or just participating and volunteering in other charitable organizations that have programs. Educational, another extremely, all of these are very important, obviously, extremely important. But what does that look like? What are those limitations? Do we have programs, for the babies? At what age, do we start to educate our people on, their roles in this society of the UNIA? How far does that education extend? Do we stop at high school? Do we stop at college? Do we have post grad? Do we have programs? And I don't want to say the next word, or we'll have to institutions that extend beyond um, what is provided for us in society, or what we call public school. So we have to think about education programs, what that looks like for us, and how we make that a reality in a consistent practice. Institutional, it's associated with educational, but as we've learned, Mr. Garvey says in his words, institutions are created to address a particular need of a society. So, health institutions, education institutions, safety institutions, legal institutions, any programs that we need that are particular for our society are the inception of what we know as institutions. So we must be institutional. One second. Constructive, another very broad and hard to define the limitations of what it is to be a constructive society, but we should be building, um, you know, uh, physically as well as intellectually. I think we have a good job of being constructive intellectually, but we must, also bring that into physical constructs as well. An expansive society. So there's no limitations on what we aspire to be able to do for our people. And that's why, the UNIA, in its inception, universal, always had aspirations of what we know to be a government, to govern ourselves, to be self-reliant. And that is what our Constitution um, uh, realizes in a sense. Um, okay, but with that, the next thing that we read, as I said, this all goes into the creation of the government, and this is how I've read it. I've heard others read it differently, but I just read it as it's written. Constitution and Book of Laws, as it says, made for the government of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, initially in effect 1918. We also say it wasn't until 1920 when during the first International Convention of Negro Peoples of the World, when the additional requirements to establish a government were completed and achieved. However, we should know that our Constitution was in effect since 1918. And again, it says made for the government of Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. This document here includes the amendments of 1920, 1921, 1922, and August 1938. So we should know, again, Mr. Garvey transitioned June 10th, 1940. So 1938, this was one of the last conventions that Mr. Garvey was able to attend physically in his lifetime. So that's another reason why we look to this document for a level of consistency. Again, there is 2020, 2021 version and updated Constitution, but from a study standpoint, from a collective division standpoint, and a historical standpoint, we feel that the 1938 Constitution is an excellent foundation. First thing, any questions or comments so far before we go into Article 1? Any questions on preamble, amendments, 1938 Constitution?
I have a question.
Brother James?
So, yes, so it's a difference on a social and nationalist, right?
Social and nationalist, what do you mean?
Is it two groups for us, the UNIA concerning UNIA?
Officially, it would be considered Universal Negro Improvement Association would be one group. African Communities League would be the second group. However, they were always designed to function together. So,
Okay,
although they've been legally recognized separately, the design and intent is for those two organizations to function cooperatively.
all right.
So it's
As a
UNIA
nationalist,
and ACL.
yeah.
But
Okay.
again, our president general is the president general of the UNIA and ACL. There's no separation. We could argue that the ACL currently would be delegated. Well, no, that may be an unfair statement. But our Minister of Labor and Industry could be considered, the head of the African Communities League at this time. But UNIA and ACL, we have one president general.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, so I guess my co-host is still having some trouble. So I'll do this my way or the way I've known it. For those that are taking notes, take a note that the Constitution of the UNIA is broken up into three primary sections. First section is the Constitution. Second is general laws, and then the third would be the bylaws. So, as we see here, as I said, the first section is the Constitution. So, although this entire document is called the Constitution, there's a sub component of this document that is the quote unquote official Constitution. So you have the Constitution within the Constitution, if that makes any sense. But this is the core of the UNIA. This body is superior to any of the subsequent bodies that are formed. So the High Executive Council, which we'll talk about, the head of the UNIA can exist independent of the subordinate divisions, if that makes sense. And that's what the Constitution describes, and yeah, it'll describe what that body is and the powers of that body. So Constitution Article 1, the very first thing that the Constitution touches on is jurisdiction. Um, so this is basically the quote unquote geographical boundaries in which this document is authorized or empowered is what we are arguing. What is our jurisdiction? Where do we have a level of say-so in regards to applying what's within this document? Brother Macy's, I figured you'd want to speak on jurisdiction. Our first vice president. You on mute, Brother Macy's. Brother Macy's, am I? Look like we lost him. Okay, he hit the wrong button. Okay, he'll come back. But first thing it says, as I said,
Can y'all hear me?
yes, we hear you, Brother Macy. You had a question, comment on jurisdiction? Brother Macy, we can't hear you.
To create a law that our people are going to follow. And of course, the reason Marcus Garvey created the organization is because he went around and he saw the conditions of the people as he traveled. So a lot of times those our conditions are rooted in the environmental laws and society that we are under. So it's our job to create an environmental society that produces the resources, support, and opportunities for our people to live a quality of life. So we have to focus on it's our jurisdiction to create that, and there's also a section make us understand why the pledge is so important as well. Because when we're saying that jurisdiction is the law that I say governs me, when we recite the pledge, we are reciting that this is the organization that I pledge myself to. So that's why we must also understand the pledge and its importance, because when people are reciting it, they're basically committing themselves to living in the lifestyle that we are creating, and that's a lifestyle of organization, unity, and shared support. And we'll be able to do the goal Marcus Garvey wanted, and that's to enhance the lives of our people to improve it. We are an improvement association.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well said, First Vice President. Um, let's go into jurisdiction. What is the jurisdiction based on the Constitution of the Universal Negro Improvement Association? Section 1 states, this body shall be known as the and Brother Macy's, would you help me? Could you read that? Could you read jurisdiction for me? And I'll call on other officers for future sections. Okay, he dropped. Oh, he just dropped down. All right. Okay. Other officers, please be on standby. Section 1. This body shall be known as the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Its jurisdiction shall include all communities where the people of Negro blood and African descent are to be found. In it alone, through the potentate and supreme commissioner, and this is obviously 1938, hereinafter spoken of, and his successors are vested powers to establish subordinate divisions and other organizations whose objects shall coalesce and be identical with those herein set forth, and its mandates shall be obeyed at all times and under all circumstances. To the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, through the authority of the potentate, is reserved the right to fix, regulate, and determine all matters of a general or international nature as affecting the objects of the organization and the membership at large. In essence, what we should know, this body should know, is jurisdiction shall include all communities where people of Negro blood and African descent are to be found. That is the jurisdiction of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Anywhere our people are, we claim jurisdiction in that space. Any questions or comments on the jurisdiction of UNIA? Okay, section 2. And again, this is, we'll talk about high counsel, but as it states, let's see, in it, in it alone is what you should know, through the potentate supreme commissioner, that's been replaced with president general, but in the UNIA alone, are vested powers to establish subordinate divisions. This is also important. And other organizations whose objects are coalesced be identified with those herein set forth. So a local division, such as Division 421, such as I believe I saw Brother Mensah representing Division 407 in Chicago, we would be considered subordinate divisions to this body that's being spoken of in Section 1. But we don't, I would argue again, and I argue with my division, our division, our jurisdiction as a division does not include all places where Africans are. But just want that to be clear per my understanding. Questions, comments before we go to rights to reorganize. Okay. Shocker, he just left me, leaving me hanging. 40 minutes. Right
Well,
to
Jack is in Chicago. He's in the middle of election. Shaka Barak?
yeah, he's supposed to, he said he was driving.
Nah, he's there. I seen him with the peoples. He's about to speak in a little while.
Oh wow, he don't lie to me. Okay. Okay, well we'll proceed. Right to reorganize rebellious branch or division. Section 2, the right is reserved to revoke charters to reestablish jurisdiction over any division or subordinate organization whose affairs are conducted contrary to the welfare of UNIA-ACL as required by the Constitution and general laws. Basically, the head body has the right to reorganize or revoke a charter from a division if they are not functioning within the Constitution. And that's just security for the leadership. If a subordinate division is, autonomous is fine, but acting outside of the Constitution is not fine. So you become a bad representation of the whole body, and your legitimacy or charter, whatever you want to call it, can be revoked. Any questions or comments on that?
Yes, what would be a bad representative?
A good one would be a clear one would be, and we won't get it specific, but having representatives from other races, or you know, and actually in our Constitution, leadership is not allowed even to have a spouse of another race. So if there becomes a integration division, so to speak, and leadership is promoting an integration lifestyle or promoting other cultures to speak on behalf of the division. That would be an obvious, bad representation of what the UNIA stands for.
Yeah.
But other things, yeah, I think that's a clear, obvious one. Usually these types of issues come down to mismanagement, usually in a funds way. If some things aren't adding up, some accounting isn't adding up, hold on, we need to remove your right to claim funds in the name of the organization. So those would be two examples. All right, good questions. But again, that's just a point of clarity that the head body is the ruling body. It's not the subordinate divisions. I got something in chat. No problem. Section 3, another very important section, objects and aim. So this basically breaks down a little bit of an expansion of the preamble. It explains what the UNIA stands for, basically a mission statement, what we are trying to achieve in a sense. And it breaks down to, in this time, there were 11 aims and objects. Currently, we got 10, but we're looking at the original document from Mr. Garvey's time. Section 3 states, the objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall be, 1, to establish a universal confraternity among the race, Number 2 is to promote the spirit of pride and love. Number 3, to reclaim the fallen. Number 4, to administer to and assist the needy. Yeah, that's 4. 5 is to assist in civilizing the backward tribes of Africa, is how it was described in Mr. Garvey's time. 6 is to assist in the development of independent Negro nations and communities. Number 7 is to establish commissionaries or agencies in the principal countries and cities of the world for the representation and protection of all Negroes, irrespective of nationality, to promote a conscientious spiritual worship among the native tribes. That's number 8, is to promote a conscientious spiritual worship among the native tribes of Africa. Number 9, to establish universities, colleges, academies, and schools for the racial education and culture of the people. Number 10 is conduct a worldwide commercial and industrial intercourse for the good of the people. And last, number 11 is to work for better conditions in all Negro communities. Okay. Any questions or comments on that? Anything that anybody would like for more clarity on? But this is also something that we should memorize as officers, our aims and objects. But it's the foundation of, additional foundation in addition to the preamble of what the UNIA, what it is, what it represents, and what we are trying to achieve. But this is how we achieve our independence. These are the goals.
I don't know if I heard you mention about the age at first. I don't know if I need to wait to ask this question. What's the age required?
Age, there is no age limit or requirement for being a member of the UNIA. In regards to being an active member or active dues paying member, that age is set at 18. So at the age of, prior to the age of 18, no dues are required. So my godchildren are members. They don't have to pay dues. But when my godson turns 18, he's gonna have to start paying dues in order to maintain active status.
Because I have teenagers that ask me about it, so I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, youth under 18, all they have to do is sign up. They are not required to pay any membership dues.
So I just tell them to go to the website or contact you or how.
Contact me. I'll have to get them an application. They do have to pay. I think we still have to, their parents will have to sponsor them through a joining fee. So there's a $10 joining fee that everybody has to pay. They would still have to take care of the joining fee, but I'm pretty sure, I know for sure they don't have any monthly fees, and I don't think they get the annual assessment either. So it's only a $10 joining.
All right.
So reach out to me. Yeah. One brother James, that's the other brother James. See, but that's why we need my youth coordinator. Jump on that. 7, necessary number for charter, section 4. So just breaking it down, section 1, we talked about jurisdiction, basically everywhere Black people are. Section 2 talked about reestablishing or reorganizing a rebellious group. So, if a charter has to be revoked, UNIA has that power. Number 3 broke down the aims and objects of the UNIA, what we stand for, who we are. And now in section 4, we're getting into the essentials of building the UNIA. Very, very important concept for Garveyites, for those in the UNIA, especially leaders charged with that responsibility of growing divisions and chapters or charters, as they were called in Mr. Garvey's time. So section 4 says a charter may be issued to 7 or more citizens of any community whose intelligence is such as to bring them within respectful recognition of the educated and cultured of such a community, provided there is no charter division in such a community. Main thing, seven or more. So anytime we talk to individuals outside of a major city like Atlanta, Chicago, DC, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, when we talk about growing the UNIA, that number seven is the magic number. If we can bring together, or if individuals can come together in numbers of seven or more, we can establish a new division in that city. So anything less than that, we can't establish a division. But as long as we can get seven in a particular area, we can start a division, and that's something that we've got to make a priority and a focus in the future years. So, any questions, comments on seven, necessary number for a charter? Shouldn't be. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, chapters. Section 5. This isn't really active, but we're from a historical standpoint. Section 5 talks about chapters. All additional divisions created in the same city shall be called chapters. The chapters granted to such divisions shall be called, the charters granted to such divisions shall be called charter chapters or chapter charters. And all new divisions so created shall be called chapters instead of divisions. And the executive secretary, who shall be a civil servant attached to the division, shall be the superior of such chapters. This is just getting into the layers of delegation. In our current state of the UNIA, we don't have chapters. We barely have divisions, but we don't have enough divisions to get into a discussion of chapters. So each division gets their charter, and then the division basically grows as large as they can as a division, but we don't convert that division into a chapter. Or if you have several divisions, multiple divisions in a city, we still haven't enforced or developed that policy of a chapter. So I wouldn't put too much time into this, but it is a good concept of understanding the levels of delegation designed within the Constitution of the UNIA. Dominion, provincial, or colonial charters. So this is in regards to international charters. Section 6, it says, in countries requiring a provincial or colonial registration of charters, there shall be issued one dominion, provincial, or colonial charter as the law may require, and all divisions within the charter limits shall be designated as branches. Nothing in this provision shall be construed as giving the original division any jurisdiction over the other divisions other than through the parent body. So this is establishing dominion, provincial, or colonial charters. From what I've seen, it applied to international divisions. So if you had I think the Caribbean would be an example, where you would have uh, international groups and bodies and divisions within a certain district, but it wouldn't be charters were designated to domestic divisions. So principal colonial charters were applied to international, per my understanding. Yeah. So yeah, this is talking about in countries requiring provincial or colonial registration. So this is I guess it could be United States, but it didn't apply to the United States. Okay, any questions so far?
Thank you so much. I do have your book.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings. I'm actually doing a dual thing right now. I'm listening to the meeting that's put on by ADDI about Burkina Faso granting free citizenship to people of African descent. So I got that on my computer and I'm listening to our Constitution meeting. Just a quick comment. Should we really have anything still with the word colonial in it? Shouldn't our Constitution be revamped to just remove words like colonial? I know that we update it every now and then. I'm not sure how often, a revision. I think it was 5 years, if memory serves me correctly. But
Yes.
I just have it's probably just me and my little pet peeve, but the word colonial just doesn't sit well with me. But that's just me and my stuff. But whatever. That's all. Race first.
Race first, not a problem. Thank you, late President. Good observation. Again, this is not our most recent Constitution. This is the 1938 Constitution. So this was the last ratified and approved Constitution of Mr. Garvey's time. In our time, I do believe this section, the entire section of colonial provincial charters has been removed. So to your point, it is gone. I'm pretty sure it's gone. Make sure. Yeah, yep, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. No, it's not. It's still there. Amended 2005. So it is still there. It's the modern, the 2005 update changed it to, in countries requiring the provincial or colonial registration charters, there shall be issued one dominion, provincial, or colonial charter. As the law may require. So the way I read it, in countries requiring provincial or colonial registration of charters, thus shall be issued one dominion, provincial, or colonial charter, as the law may require. So it's being described as a legal requirement. So some countries, the way I understand it, some countries would require a provincial registration. Some countries would require a dominion, and some countries would require a colonial registration, is the way I'm reading it. Lady President, we good? You're on mute if you say anything.
No, I understand. I was just saying that's probably like that was the case then, but no countries. I guess some countries in Africa could still be looked at as colonies,
Exactly.
including the breakout one, Burkina Faso, that just literally broke out. I mean, they're not really seen as colonies, but they're still, in some instance, treated as colonies. But I don't know. I just think we have to get rid of those terms because, the mindset, just a mindset thing. Why use that word if we're no longer colonies of these people?
I understand it's something we need to look into. It's something we should have more information on in regards to establishing international organizations or international divisions. So that is something that we should know, if, in order to establish a division in Nigeria, do we require a provincial registration? Do we require, would that be a dominion charter? If we wanted to establish divisions in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Bahamas, or Haiti, Dominican Republic, what would that be provincial or, would that be colonial? Because I know Jamaica, I mean, but, I understand what you're saying. But I'm trying to understand also the intent of the writers, and it seems as though there were legal constraints that forced them into these descriptions of dominion, provincial, and colonial. But I still don't know for sure. So it's a good point. It's something that we need to look into. But I think the bigger issue, again, would be us establishing international divisions. And once we do that, we'll be forced to, understand what type of registration is required. Any other questions on Section 6? Dominion, provincial, or colonial charters. And again, it's the 1938 Constitution. We have a new Constitution, so we can always look at to make sure what we're looking at is still active. And again, that title of Dominion, provincial, or colonial charters is in our current Constitution. Okay, Article 2, laws. This is another important one. Okay, we'll just go into it. Section 1. Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League may enact and enforce laws for its government, and that for subordinate divisions, organizations, and societies and members throughout the jurisdiction. So, very clear, but just making it clear that the head body has the ability to create laws for the organization, including the subordinate divisions. Everybody clear on that? Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. So that's what we've discussed thus far in this, in Article 1, the Constitution. Now we're in Article 2. But that league may enact and enforce laws for its government. So for itself, for the High Council, the parent body, and that for subordinate divisions. So for Division 407, Division 429, Division 421, we're basically agreeing to this structure and saying that as a subordinate division, we defer that we understand that there is a leadership structure above us. For subordinate divisions, organizations, societies, and members throughout the jurisdiction, which we established, Article 1, Section 1. All right. I think I kind of hope I made that clear. We'll go through Section 2. If there's any questions, we can go through the entire Article 2 thus far. Section 2 states the laws of the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall be comprised in, so where we can find the laws. And as we said, it's 3 sections. Number A, the Constitution. What does the Constitution contain? Constitution contains the outlines, fundamental principles, and policies of the organization, its jurisdictions, and that of divisions and societies, the list of officers and all matters pertaining to their duties. So very important. We talked about some of the fundamental principles that can be preamble as well as aims and objects. Policies of the organization. We hadn't really gone into too much of that yet, but we'll touch on some of those later. Jurisdiction, we went over that very clearly, Article 1, Section 1, and that the jurisdiction, that is, of local divisions and societies, list of officers and all matters pertaining to their duties. So that's another important point, is knowing the structure of the UNIA per the Constitution. So, what are the offices of leadership and what are the responsibilities and duties of each of these offices of leadership? So, all of those laws can be comprised in the Constitution itself. Any questions so far before I go to second section of bylaws? Second section where we can find the laws of the UNIA would be the bylaws. Bylaws which contain the order of procedure and convention, specific duties of offices and committees, and the standing rules. I understood, I got to verify, but I know the bylaws to break down into your local divisions. The Constitution, I guess it kind of gives, we'll look at it. We'll look at it. It might be in the Constitution where they have the roles of each officers, but I thought it was in the bylaws. Bylaws will be order of procedure and convention. It also, no, it may not touch High Council. High Council is probably in Constitution. Specific duties of officers and committees and standing rules. So as the leadership body creates committees, those committees can be constitutionalized, and they will become, part of the Constitution, and those roles and responsibilities will be in the bylaws. Last section is the general laws, which contain all matters pertaining to the relation of members and local divisions and societies to each other. So a lot of our auxiliaries, Black Cross nurses, Legion, youth divisions, band, a lot of that information falls in the general laws. Any questions or comments so far? Okay, Section 3 of Article 2, amendments to the Constitution. Constitution shall only be amended at time when such amendments tend absolutely to further the interests of Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and when carried by 2/3 majority in convention fully assembled. So this still applies. This still applies. We've been limited. Let me see. Make sure this still applies. Laws amendment to Constitution. Yeah, it's still there. So basically you have to get 2/3 majority at convention to make an amendment to the Constitution. What is not said in this section is currently that process will be limited to once every 5 years. So the next time we will look at amendments to the Constitution will be next year, 2026. Following that, the next time the Constitution will basically be frozen until 2031. So that's one thing that this doesn't state. Second thing that this doesn't state is the process of High Council. In order to have a proposal or amendment on the agenda for convention, so in order to have your amendment voted on at convention, it must first be voted on and approved at High Council, which occurs in April of that same year. The convention will occur in October, not October, August. High Council will take place in April. So the important thing to take away for this is the next opportunity to amend the Constitution will be convention next year of 2026. In order to be on the agenda for convention 2026, your amendment must be agreed on and approved at the High Council of 2026. So next year, High Executive Council will look at amendments for the 2026 convention. Any questions or comments on 2/3 requirement to amend the Constitution? What's everybody's thoughts on that timing of being able to amend the Constitution once every 5 years?
I feel like Race Rice family, everything has to be studied, and when we do change an amendment, there may be there may need to be a time frame where we study the effects of that amendment. So 4 years could be a time frame that's beneficial to be able to study the effects of the amendment on the improvement of our society, which is the goal.
So you agree with the 5-year freeze?
Really, it's not about. I mean, I'm just agreeing or disagreeing. I can see how it could be useful.
You see how it could be detrimental?
5 years should be a good time frame because of the seriousness of the document. But I guess it should be ongoing reviewing and updating just to keep it current. And I mean, it just depends. Is there, you know, if the whole idea of that is to review and make it better, you know, not to change the significance, the underlying foundation, all the components of it, not to change those, but upgrading a few things, like the backward tribes, and I think they did something with that wording, but things like that. A 5 years should be good because of the significance of the document, I think. It's not something you're going to just change and make up your mind next month and change something else the next month. It's a serious document, but we still do need constant reviewing as we're doing now, just to see where some things could be added, could be subtracted, things that are no longer relevant, but just significant things has to stay in no matter what, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But 5 years, I think, should be good.
Okay, so you are in agreement with the 5-year freeze of the Constitution?
I think that's a fair time frame due to the nature of the document and stuff like that.
Okay, understand. Any other opinions?
Brother John.
Yes, Brother Everett, Minister of Information.
Yes, I had a question. Maybe it's more of a comment type question. I know it's one every 5 years, but I'm looking and it's the one part that made me think you can bring things up was when it was said something about if we deem it necessary or something. I was looking for that. I'm sorry, I'm just getting settled in the home.
No problem. I know for a fact that the authority would be limited to the President General. I do know that. Constitution, I got the bottom page 11 of the large Constitution. This is the modern Constitution. I guess let me bring that up I didn't want to have a lot of modern stuff. I wanted to keep it a historical discussion. Give me a second. So where is it at? Chapters. It's after chapters. Matter of fact, I don't even think it's in this version. I don't know. Yeah, it should be. Let's see. Amendment to Constitution. Here we go. Constitutional review states that every 5 years, time be set aside for a constitutional review. All resolutions for improvement shall be sent to the Constitution Committee. So this, and then the Constitutional Committee is kind of makes it weird. It says the President General appoint and upgrade the Constitutional Committee as needed. So let me see. The foundation would be every 5 years, time set aside. In order to have a resolution, the resolution must go through the Constitution Committee.
Now, wasn't there somewhere where it says, for example, let's say it was an emergency situation and we just felt we had to change something right away. Isn't there a way that we could present that to the President General and he sends it to the committee without going through the every 5 years? I can't find it. I'm looking for it now, but I thought it was something where the way it was worded.
I don't, let me see. I would see that the President General has the ability to appoint and a Constitution Committee. That's what I see, but I still see that all resolutions must go through the Constitution Committee. I don't see anything specific about cutting into that 5 years.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think like if the President General wanted to have a Constitution Committee immediately, I don't know.
Like for example, if we said, hey man, it's getting a little crazy out here. I know we don't want our elders being on a legion if they're after a certain age, but you know, we might need everybody to stand by. Can we at HEC or something say, hey, let's bring this to the ahead of time because we need to change it now, and the President General will have that option to send it. That's what I thought. I thought I saw something, but I'm looking, I don't see it, but
I'm trying to see how that would play in reality. I see the President General would have the authority to appoint a Constitution Committee.
all right, so I'm looking at Amendment August 2005. The Constitution, and then this could be amended already, so maybe that's what I'm looking at.
You're
The
probably looking at the same thing I'm
Constitution
looking at.
shall be amended at times when such amendment tends absolutely to further the interest of the Universal Negro Improvement
Where's
Association.
that at?
But that may be something different.
Where's that at?
It's I'm looking at the small book.
What
Go
page?
up a little, go up a little. See, that might be amended to what I'm reading, is what I'm thinking.
What page? No, this small book should be the same. What page?
Yeah, that's it. I was looking at the red. The Constitution shall be amended at times when such amendment tends absolutely to further the interest. So when I saw that, I was assuming that meant that we could skip that 5 years if we felt something that was such importance we need to change right away. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
But I would disagree because based on how
With the
based on
5
how
years.
we got to the 5 year requirement, we were trying to carry out the Constitution and address issues as needed, and we were told specifically, no, you can only address those things every 5 years.
Okay, so I would just, well, thank you for that. So I would just say I don't mind the 5 years, but the next time we vote, I would think an amendment should be that we can at least try to bring in an amendment if deemed necessary. You know, just something to think about.
How's it deemed necessary? Like that's been the whole challenge of the process, because
For
when
example, if something we couldn't wait 4 years for,
but
that would
how do we know that if the items aren't being able to be brought to the floor, you know?
that's the point. I would say the next time we are able to bring it to the floor, that would be something that I would say I'm fine with the 5 years, but I also think we need to put an amendment that that is somehow, some way we could find a process that if something we deem very important that needs to be changed drastically, we could bring that up in some kind of way.
But that's the original process itself.
I know, but maybe we need to go back to that then. The original
That's
process was
contrary to
was the original process every 5 years?
that's what I'm saying. What the original process is contrary to the 5 year freeze.
Right. What I'm saying is I just think that it's, it has to be something of emergency that everybody can vote on and agree brings it up. I know it's not in the Constitution now, but maybe that part should be changed. Yeah, we're gonna go for every 5 years, but if something historical or anything of any nature that we feel that we need to bring up, maybe there's a process that we could at least try to bring it up in the future. You know what I mean? But if it's not in there, it's not in there. But
I would argue that's already there when it states the Constitution shall only be amended at times when such amendment tends absolutely to further the interests of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and when carried by the majority, um, that's been there. So the practice has been bring the amendment to the body, and the body decides if it's sufficient to affect the interests of the movement or not.
I agree with you there. I don't know. Maybe I guess the amendment just makes it every 5 years, and maybe there's a way where for certain amendments that we deem need to be changed ASAP.
That was that was
I mean, I see what you're saying. You're 100% correct.
that was the original intent of, in my understanding of the 5 year. This wasn't a freeze. This was just making sure that every 5 years at least we looked at the Constitution.
All right, so what you're saying is you think that it's at least every 5 years and we need to do it, not every 5 years, set a time.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying every year if possible, but if we're not doing it every year, then we need to do it at least every 5 years.
Gotcha.
Because this is at 5 years, time be set aside for a constitutional review. That implies like we haven't had any constitutional reviews.
I see what you're saying, but I can see where they could take it the other way.
If you want, yeah, if you want to freeze it, you can do that. But again, I'll leave it at this. And everybody's opinion is valid. But it disagrees with the history of this document. And this ain't even all of them. This was amended in 1920. That's 2 years after the original document. 1921, the next year. 1922, the next year. 38, 2005. It was also, which is not up here, 2008, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2021. So this 5 year freeze is new. That's just my thing. But it is what it is. So 2026, High Executive Council will be the next opportunity to present amendments for the Constitution. That was the main thing we were discussing here. Any questions on amendments? Okay. Section 4, bylaws and general laws, how they are enacted. And again, it's 1938 original, old Constitution. Bylaws and general laws may be enacted by the Convention of Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Such laws carried by 2/3 majority. So at this point, the amendment process and the enactment of the laws process is one and the same. As a amendment is brought forth, that it's approved in convention, that law is henceforth enacted per that convention. Any questions? That should be straightforward. Article 3, our good old Article 3. Should probably no, we're gonna stick to the history. Article 3 states, Section 1, divisions in all kindred organizations, societies, and orders subordinate to the Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League are entitled to representation in convention. Such divisions and societies sending a delegate or delegates who shall be named deputies as through office of President General. So in 1938 Constitution, divisions would send delegates as representatives of their division. Any questions on that? Okay. Terms of deputies, Section 2, each deputy shall hold office 4 years after election, and his office shall be honorary with his expense paid for attending convention by his own division, organization, or society, shall be entitled to 1 vote in convention, no proxy shall be allowed. Deputies and delegates has been replaced with 1 man, 1 vote. We no longer use a delegate system, but all attendees in good standing at convention or high council have the right of a delegate and have a vote of a delegate. Any questions or comments on delegates? Okay. All right. All right. All right. Article 6. This is the structure of the High Council, particularly the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the leadership. Article 4, officials, officers, elections, and appointments. Section 1 states the rulers of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall be potentate, supreme commissioner, supreme deputy, president general, administrator, first assistant president general, second assistant president general, who shall also be titular leader of American Negroes, third assistant president general, who shall also be the titular leader of the West Indies, South and Central America, a fourth assistant president general, a secretary general, first assistant secretary general, a second assistant secretary general, and a high chancellor, counsel general, an assistant counsel general, auditor general, minister of labor and industry, high commissioner general, chaplain general, international organizer, minister of legions, and a minister of education, all of whom shall form the high executive council representing branches throughout the world. Be it resolved that everything in the Constitution contrary to or in conflict with the above section be and is hereby repealed and declared null and void. Section 2, the offices of the Provisional President of Africa, President General and Administrator, the First Assistant President General, the Second Assistant President General, who shall also be titular leader of American Negroes, Third Assistant President General, who shall also be titular leader of the Negroes of the West Indies, South and Central America, the Fourth Assistant President General, all of whom shall be elected, and their term of office shall be 4 years, providing their conduct conform to the best interests of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Offices of Provisional President of Africa. We got to get that back. So that's speaking to the elected offices. Currently today, we have 5 elected offices: President General, first, second, third, and fourth Assistant President General. Let me pull up an org chart so everybody can see the structure. Let me see. HEC, right? Orientation. HEC newsletter. I don't think that's what I want. Nope. Not what I want. Wait a second. It's called a flow chart, I think. Pledge, HEC flow chart. Oh, I think I sent this to one of my officers. All right, we're gonna look at our flow chart briefly. Let's see, slideshow. So we're talking about High Council and the officials of High Council. And the first thing that we should know, as I said, the 5 elected positions, and they're all identified in the green. So President General, currently the 11th successor, 10th successor and 11th President General, 10th successor to the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the 11th President General of the UNIA, Honorable Michael R. Duncan, duly elected August 2024. And his staff, I need to update the third, but his staff, First Assistant President General, Brother Raymond Duguay, in New York. Second, I need to update second too. Second Assistant President General, Brother, wait, hold on. Brother Oster's third. Brother Ever, who's our second assistant, PG?
Brother John, I was just texting you the updated one.
His brother OG's not.
Brother OG is Brother Quiet is first. Brother OG is, I believe, second.
Brother
Brother
OG still
Ossie,
winning.
Yeah, Brother Oscar should be third.
Yes, I know. You
Well, the
got Brother
one
Charles in there.
I know I gotta up. Yeah, it hasn't been upgraded, but since then I don't think. But the one I had,
I
but
got you.
that should there's a couple of things have been misdirected as well, I believe, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I got a clean. I know I got a better version than this, but this is what we got. Second assistant, Brother OG. Third assistant is our Minister of Education, or former Minister of Education, Brother Oster out of New York, and fourth assistant President General, Brother Quahir, out of New York. Also, the Minister of Legions, currently serving in the office of Minister of Legions, and the head of our Black Cross nurses. On the line, we have our Minister of Information, Brother Everett Winchester, and we're supposed to have our Minister of Labor and Industry, Brother Clyde Banks, as well. I'm down here as a district commissioner of District 5, and we also have some presidents. Myself and Brother Everett are both presidents of local divisions as well. So this is the structure. These are the 5 elected officials. And once you get the 5 elected officials, we'll talk about this in the next section. Our President General has the authority to appoint his cabinet. So Secretary General, Sister Brenda Amor Khan. We're establishing the Council of Elders and Director of Membership. High Chancellor is in the Office of President General, currently served by no, Brother Ramus stepped down on High Chancellor, or he's working on that as well. But I'll get all this updated. That's an appointed position by the President General. Surgeon General is appointed position by the President General. Counsel General, our very own Attorney Imhotep Akibalan, is appointed position by the President General. Chaplain General, Auditor General, as well as our ministers, Minister of Labor and Industry, Minister of Information, international organizer, Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister of Education, Minister of, that should be, is a Minister of African Legions. Why does that not look right? Minister of Legions, I think is how it goes. But again, it's 5 elected positions, and the remaining positions are appointed. Any questions on the structure of our High Council? And again, when we talk about the Constitution, the head leadership, the body that can exist independent of any division, it would be this. This is that body. This is that leadership. So, any questions on our High Council? Okay. All right. Everybody got that memorized. Jumping back over to Constitution. We talked about the elected positions. Now we will touch on the appointed. Well, let's see. All of the officers forming the High Executive Council shall be appointed by the President General and confirmed by the convention, except the potentate Supreme Deputy. We're not going to talk too much about. I'll have to get my elders, Brother Shaka, Brother Everett, some leaders in the UNIA as we talk about the history of the potentate and supreme deputy. But for now, just understand that those positions are no longer a part of the UNIA, and the head position, the top position, is the President General, whose term of office shall be permanent. So it's talking about potentate and supreme deputy. Such appointment shall be for the same period that of administration, providing their conduct conforms to the best interests of UNIA, and have proven their confidence to satisfaction of the administration, and be it resolved that everything in the Constitution contrary to or in conflict with the above section be and is hereby repealed and declared null and void. So that was just extending the powers of potentate and supreme deputy, but again, those positions are no longer active in the Constitution.
I'm sorry, Brother John. Do you have a time frame of when that they eliminated the potentate?
Officially, to my knowledge, that didn't take place until 2005.
Okay.
So that's another, something that the elders kind of give me a little bit of a different perspective on, as far as why it's not there and when, it was removed and, Mr. Garvey's perspective on the positions. But officially, when you look at your Constitution, I've got the large Constitution, page 16, 17. It talks about potentate power derived from executive council. Potentate and supreme commissioner starts on page 15. But at the end of each of those sections, it says amended and eradicated August 2005. Okay. If there are any other questions, we will proceed. So again, everyone should understand, right now we're into the brain of the UNIA, also known as the High Council, the elected officials, the elected leadership, as well as the appointed leadership. Next thing that the Constitution talks about is failure of officials to qualify. So, what if someone is elected or put into a position that someone feels that they shouldn't hold or whatever it may be? It said Section 3, no person elected to a high office of the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall hold office until his credentials as to his character and qualifications have satisfied the High Executive Council. In case a person elected to a high office is rejected by the High Executive Council, the President General and Administrator shall have the power to appoint a person to fill the position of the person rejected until the next session of the convention. So, give some power to the High Executive Council to determine the qualifications of the High Council. Any questions or comments on failure of officials to qualify? So we should know the qualifications of this body that we are creating for the leadership. Section 4, High Commissioner or Commissioner. I serve as a commissioner. Our President Marua in Chicago, Division 401, serves as our High Commissioner. Section 4 states, a High Commissioner or Commissioner shall be appointed to represent the Universal Negro Improvement Association in every country where Negroes live. In parts where the country is divided up into large states and different sections, a commissioner shall be appointed to every state and section. So this is the delegation structure. Let's see. Basically, in every country where Negroes live, you'll have a high commissioner, and then parts where the country is divided up into states, or like the United States, we can have commissioners in those states. I serve as commissioner for South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. We also have high commissioner serves for the commissioners of districts. I forgot the exact districts. I think it's 7 and 8, but Wisconsin, Illinois, I believe Ohio are some states within his district. But that's part of how the UNIA delegates leadership through high commissioners and commissions. Any questions on that? Okay, so we should know our high commissioners. We should know our commissioners, just as well as we know, presidents and president generals and assistant president generals. Rank of minister or ambassador, Section 5, there shall also be appointed high commissioners who shall be given the rank of minister plenipotentiary or ambassadors who shall be domiciled at the capitals of all regular governments. Their duty shall be to keep up friendly relations with the respective governments and to respect and to protect the interests of all Negroes. So this goes to our aims and objects. Currently number 6, to have ambassadors and embassies for the respective for the representation and protection of all Negroes. This, let me see, I don't think this is still active due to the structure. High Commissioner, rank of ambassador. No, it's still there actually. So we should have, well, our High Commissioner serves as also an ambassador um, on behalf of, I guess, the United States to other countries. But if we would have high commissioners in other countries, they would serve as ambassadors to communicate with the leadership of the UNIA here in the United States or wherever it may be. So structure again, appointment of high commissioners. How are high commissioners appointed? And again, potentate supreme commissioner, high supreme deputy is replaced with president general. So I'll just say president general and administrator, and may commission them or high commissioners to represent the interest of the organization in all countries of the world, and they shall be controlled by the office of the high commissioners general, which we don't have. I don't think we have office of high commissioners general. We just have high commissioner. But I would think that when we get more high commissioners, that office will evolve to the high commissioners general. Election of divisional officers. So how now we're getting into creating the subordinate organizations and divisions. Section 7 states divisions and subordinate organizations shall elect their officers, except the president, who shall be appointed by the president general by majority vote to be approved by the office of the president general. So divisions, as we get that 7 or more, we then have the obligation to appoint and vote for the offices of our division. But that's complete autonomy of the local division, with the exception of the president. President must be appointed by the president general. It gives the president general, um, you know, that checkpoint or gate um, that they can control. You know, if the president general feels that a president isn't fit or unproductive for the UNIA or for that region, president general has that power to, not certify that president. So, any question on election of divisional officers? No questions on election of divisional officers. So again, takeaway is that autonomy. The division has the power to elect its body, with the exception of the president, which is approved by the president general. Terms of office of rulers. So this is talking about, well, potentate supreme commissioner is permanent. Again, those positions have been removed. Term of all local offices of the parent body shall be 4 years, provided their conduct conform with the interests of the Universal Negro Improvement and African Communities League at all times. So, just stating that the elected officers that we talked about in the High Council, they serve 4-year terms. They were duly elected August 2024. They will serve, God willing, until August 2028. We will have another election. Any questions on term of office of rulers? And obviously, the appointed individuals, their tenure would coincide with the administration that appointed them. No questions on term of office? Okay. Let's see. I kind of want to read. Well, shoot, I don't want to waste time. But I do think it's important for us to understand potentate supreme commissioner. Um, and the structure of the Constitution and their role within the Constitution. Again, that those roles were in the original Constitution that Mr. Garvey created, and as we see that those positions were still in the Constitution up until Mr. Garvey's death. We don't have record of that being removed until 2005. Court reception at home. This is all in regards to the potentate supreme deputy. Let me read impeachment of potentate or supreme deputy. I don't think I read this because I always thought those positions were lifetime positions, and they were kind of above reproach or any type of accountability. Section 4, the potentate, supreme commissioner, and supreme deputy, should they at any time act contrary to the good and welfare of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and refusing or neglecting to abide by or carry out the commands of the association and league through its constitution and through the order of its convention, shall, on proper evidence of the fact, be impeached by any member of the executive council through the office of the council general, and they shall be tried for such irregularities, neglect, misconduct, or disloyalty to the association before the convention. If found guilty before the convention by a 2/3 vote, they shall automatically forfeit the high office held by them. The convention shall take immediate steps to elect a new potentate or supreme deputy. Very straightforward. Those actions have been transferred over to the president general, but if you replace supreme potentate supreme deputy with president general, the process is the same. I have to verify if it requires a member of the executive council. So in order for the potentate supreme deputy to be impeached, they must be impeached by a member of the executive council through the office of the council general. So, but any questions on that impeachment of potentate supreme deputy? But that's a good thing because it just lets me know no one is above the law, is above the Constitution. So even if the head officer is not acting within the principles of the Constitution, and that's brought forth to the body, that person, that individual can be removed from office. Any questions on impeachment? Okay. Next section. In association with impeachment, counsel general must prosecute. If potentate supreme commissioner, or we can apply president general, which I think the amendments just changed that to president general. If the president general or supreme deputy shall be charged or impeached before the convention, the counsel general shall prosecute in the interest of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League, and the president general shall have counsel to appear at the bar of the convention on his behalf. Such counsel shall be an active member or officer of the UNIA and ACL. Any questions on counsel general prosecuting any impeachment claims? Okay, section 6, in regards to counsel, no counsel except an officer or active member of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall be allowed to appear in behalf of any member charged before any responsible body of trial of the association and league. So this goes from the top to the bottom. In order to have defense or counsel, that counsel or defense or even witness must be a member of an active member of the UNIA, and these charges must be brought before a responsible body of trial within the association in the league. Any questions on counsel? We don't want to bring our issues outside, and we don't want to bring outside people into our issues. Brother Everett, you want to speak to that on the potentate?
I was just dropping a little information, but I could have swore, and I'm not. I gotta find a book.
Yeah, it's
But
all.
I could have swore in Garvey and Garveyism, she had mentioned something about Marcus Garvey getting rid of the potentate back then. And I flipped, Brother Charles the text, and he was saying something about we got rid of the potentate when Marcus Garvey was like some kind of position in Africa he had taken, maybe within the UNIA. But again, he didn't remember where to find it because he was saying it should be in the Constitution. But I'm like, I think the only thing we really saw that we could bring back was 205. As you stated, Brother John. So I was it's just something I put in there. Maybe I can research it. One of us can research it later. I think that's good to know.
Yeah, that's something I'm interested to know more about. Let me look. I got a 1938 small book.
That's
Uh,
what I'm looking for. I can't find it. The small Constitution, one of the original ones, right?
yeah, it's in there, man. It's in there. Don't say no amended and removed. I understand, we got word of mouth and
Exactly. That's why we gotta have facts. We gotta
yeah,
see it.
and we may, even function. We may not even, we know it. We may have practices that are not necessarily in line with constitutional updates and amendments, but it becomes, tradition. But we have a responsibility as a government to make sure that these changes are properly documented.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, great point, brother. More responsibility, more work for us. Bribes. Let's just get this out the way. Section 7, should the potentate Supreme Commissioner or Supreme Deputy or anyone really, any officer, this applies to any officer, receive money or gifts from any person or persons by way of bribes or rewards, neglecting or selling out the interests of Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, he shall be guilty of high crimes against the association and league, and on conviction before the convention shall forthwith be disgraced and dismissed from the high office that they hold. So you get caught in a bribe, you will be dismissed from your office. Any questions or comments? That's very clear, very important. You're not, don't say you kicked out the organization, and which is another point, but you are dismissed from your office. Officials found guilty. Any officer or official in the University Negro Improvement Association African Community League charged and found guilty of a similar offense shall be forthwith dismissed from the association and league through the office. So I guess you do, all right. Follow up, being found guilty. Dismissed from office. Wait, dismissed from the office of the association and league through the office of the potentate or his superior on the approval of the executive council. Officials found guilty. Any officer or official University Negro Improvement Association charged and found guilty of a similar offense shall be forthwith dismissed from the office of the association and league. I'd take that as being kicked out of office, but I don't take that as being kicked out the organization. Am I reading that wrong? Is anybody reading that differently? Say I'm the um head of the media, you know, and I take a bribe and I'm found guilty. The way I read this would means I would be dismissed from the office of the media. Anybody else read that differently?
I think I'm with you with it. I mean, that's what it says. It doesn't say anything about dismissal.
Well, I mean, dismissed from the office of the association. Dismissed from the office of the association.
Yes, because this is saying any officer or official.
Right. Yep.
So
right.
I guess they're just saying if you get it, you'll get dismissed from your position.
Yep.
And then maybe, as we go down for a regular member, what they do to go to that degree.
I got you. Yep. Let's just keep it clear. We hadn't, but so far I have not seen any dismissal of an ordinary member. Okay. I see dismissal of officers from their office, um, but not dismissal of a member from membership. Even in regards to the impeachment, let me double check. Any member shall be tried, neglect, misconduct, found guilty, shall automatically forfeit high office. Take immediate steps to enact. But yeah, it doesn't say anyone is revoked from membership as of yet. Officials found guilty shall not receive money or gifts. Section 9. No officer or official in the service of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall receive money or gifts on his or her account from anyone or service rendered for the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, but all money and gifts shall be turned over to and shall be the property of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. But a personal testimonial may be presented publicly to any officer or official on his or her account as appreciation of faithful services performed for the association. Basically no private payments. And that's where this is the contrast to the bribes. If you're getting a private payment, we taking that as a bribe. You just got bribed and you could be found guilty of that. If you want to receive a gift, you should be receiving that gift publicly. But anything that you receive privately, according to the Constitution, should go directly to the organization. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. Uh, Transparency. We must be transparent. All active members must approve Constitution Section 10. All officers, officials, and active members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall sign their names on approval and acceptance of the Constitution and bylaws in a register provided for that purpose before they are installed into office. This implies that this has been done, but this would be something that we'd want to have on record. But yeah, this would be the initial launch of the Constitution. We talked about earlier amendments, so that doesn't apply to amendments. Uh, Article 6, Black Star Line Navigation and Trading Company, Section 11. Third International Convention of Negroes duly assembled ordains and establishes the Black Star Line Trading and Navigation Company for the purpose of carrying out the steamship program of the UNIA-ACL in the interest of the race. The UNIA shall capitalize the new company, and no individual shall be allowed to own any stock in said company. All stock shall be owned absolutely and exclusively by the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Section 11A, the Executive Council of the Universal Negro Improvement Association is empowered by this convention to invest its accumulated funds in the said new steamship corporation, and the said Executive Council shall be the incorporators of the new company. And in the formation of the new company, aside from the President General, no other directors of the defunct Black Star Line Company shall be allowed to direct the affairs of the new company, and that only competent persons be allowed by the new company. Um, so looks like this was the reestablishment of the Black Star Line as the Black Star Line Navigation and Trading Company. But led by the Executive Council of the UNIA. And let's see, all stock shall be owned absolutely and exclusively by the UNIA. Any questions or comments? Article 6, Black Star Line Navigation Trading Company. Black Star Line Redemption Corporation. This is, I don't want to spend too much time on this one. This is when we were basically reclaiming funds for Black Star Line stock. Universal Negro Improvement Association and Convention assembled does hereby authorize the organization of an auxiliary to be known as the Black Star Line Redemption Corporation for the purpose of redeeming the stocks and notes of the Black Star Line Incorporated, now held by stockholders. A period of 5 years shall be allowed for the complete redemption of the stock and notes of the Black Star Line Incorporated, now held by stockholders. 2.5% shall be paid on the stocks and notes of the Black Star Line Incorporated. Looked like my internet was slowing down. To the stockholders from time of purchase of said stocks and notes to the time of their redemption. So this was redeeming the stocks of the Black Star Line. Straightforward. Supreme Deputy, again, that's
excuse me, Brother John.
yes. Okay, greetings, Brother Sean.
I've finally been able to get on. Man, I was out of town driving all the way, hoping I would get here in time for the conference. This is my favorite subject. Can we back up for just a second, John, to that
Yes,
last piece that you read?
The Black Star Line Redemption Corporation?
Section 12A. Section 12A.
Sure. Section 12A, a period of 5 years shall be allowed for the.
Okay, you don't have to repeat it.
Okay.
They can see it. What happened was, as you know, the Black Star Line was sabotaged. The United States government spent over $5 million, it was estimated, to destroy the Black Star Line, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. At no fault of our own, we had some challenges with the Black Star Line. People were able to do sabotage against the Black Star Line. Ships damaged the ships, abused the cargo on the ships, and the government would not do anything to punish anybody that did anything against the UNIA. They turned their head to all crimes done against the UNIA. So, no fault of our own, we, the Black Cross, Black Star trading company or steamship company, had some setbacks. But the integrity of the UNIA and the Honorable Marcus Garvey was of such that the officers said, let's see what we can do to get the money back to the people who held onto their stocks. Let's see if we can clean it up in 5 years. Now, when I came into the UNIA and I looked at this as well as the history of the Black Star Line, it was like, man, can we do this again? And the elders said, you have to go very slow with the Black Star Line Corporation because these stocks are still out there. And though the members out of the 35,000 stockholders, which were, except for 18, that the government was able to say negative things about the Black Star Line, the 18 being members of the Bureau of Investigation, rival organizations, and just crooked people. But out of the 35,000 said, okay, we're satisfied with how we've been treated by the Black Star Line. They would have not tried to sue after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But there were some who would certainly try and get whatever money they could out of the UNIA because we were like a cash cow to a lot of people during that time. But one last point about this subject of the Black Star Line. Even though people tried to paint it as if the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey stole from the Universal Negro Improvement Association members, the fact of the matter was the members turned around and gave our leadership another $1 million to launch another shipping line, Black Cross Navigation and Trading Company. So this is a beautiful history. And if you ever have an opportunity to teach the children, brothers and sisters, leaders, always remember to tell the story of the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, because there had been nothing like it in history. It is a part of our history, as great as all the other things were. The African Communities League, chain of grocery stores, chain of restaurant. Out of all the manufacturing that we did, the greatest thing that was accomplished that did more to draw our people was the establishment of the Black Star Line. So that story must be told. It is in your Constitution of what is to be taught to the children under 7 years old. And that is the story of the Black Star Line. And so we can show the black and white ships. We can paint some ships in color. We can change the way the ships look so that the children can, see the colors and see the images and have fun being told stories about the Black Star Line. But that story has to be told. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Brother Shaka, for that insight. I've always looked at this section in a different light, but as in a negative light. I always thought of it as we were trying to redeem, the best of what was left from that fragmenting colossus as it's been described in the past. But I appreciate your insight and how the history that you brought forth.
Well, if we have brothers and sisters who are interested in the military departments of the UNIA, you might want to study the maritime industry, the shipping industry, because when the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the UNIA through the Black Star Line bought ships, you can look in here and you can also find how many ships did the UNIA plan on buying. And I need my mathematicians real quick to do this. Since 1919, when the first ship, the SS Yarmouth, was purchased, since 1919, Honorable Marcus Garvey said at that time that he wanted to purchase another ship every 3 months. So if we had stayed on course, had not been tampered with, and stayed on course, a ship every 3 months since 1919 would be how many ships today? And the mathematicians, you go to work, bring us that number. And
412, Brother Shaka.
How many?
I think 412. I could be wrong.
Well, if you take the first day of September of 1919 and then begin to do the addition up until today, February the 8th.
I got 3016.
What you got, Brother John?
3,800.
I could be. I'm doing it by years times the amount per year. How many years was it? Like 100 and something, right?
Shoot.
Yes.
25 minus 19.
2025 minus 19.
It's 106 times
106
what do you
times 12,
4 8? Well, it's 4 times a year.
but it's
Yes.
So it's 4 times a year. So we should multiply that times 4, right?
no. You said I thought you said, how many? I thought you said certain times per month.
Yeah, no.
You said 3 ships per month.
Yes, which is 4 times a year.
Right. I'm right on that, right? Yeah, Brother John, I see where you got it confused. One ship every 4 months.
Oh,
Right. Oh, no, every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
one
And it's
ship every
three,
3 months. All right.
and that breaks it down to
Four
4
per
times a
year.
year.
4
Okay.
ships a year.
So I got 424, but that, depending on when they started.
Yeah, I would get that too. Low 400. Yeah.
What'd you say, babe? Every 10 years is
10 ships a year.
no. It's 4 ships a year
Yep. 4 ships.
times 100. How many years?
106 is what I got.
4 times 106 is what?
424.
424, yep.
So you can see, we can crunch the numbers. You can see, however, what kind of shipping industry we would have had, how much trade we would have been able to do with Africans at home and abroad, how many people would have been employed. Even the small yacht, the SS Kanawha, it took 39 people to manage a small yacht. Just the yacht, not the cargo ships, not the one that went up the Hudson River to Shady Side. Just the yacht took 39 people. So let's round that off, brothers and sisters, to say 40 people. Let's just hypotheticalizing for a minute. 40 people times 4. How many ships?
424.
40 people times 424 is how many people that would have been employed in the maritime industry if we just use those numbers of 40 per ship times the 424 ships.
I got 16,960.
Yep.
That would have been employed just in the maritime industry alone. What? To just manage the ship. Say what, babe?
That's how many positions, not how many people.
So
people, they didn't work 100 and something years.
16,000.
That's true.
Just if you operated on the sheer numbers is what I wanted you to see. Now, you can extrapolate that out, brothers and sisters, into any area that you want. You want to look at how much the SS Yarmouth could haul. It was a cargo ship. You've seen these cargo ships today. You've seen these ships that have these box cars on top of them, floating to China for the most part, and from China for the most part. And why is that? Because China is the greatest manufacturing power in the world. Why is that? Because China collects everybody's garbage, everything that is thrown away. China puts it on its cargo ships and ships it to China. And when it gets to China, they take the garbage, the computers, the radios, they take the cars, the batteries, whatever, anything that they can take apart and reduce it down to its elements, to reduce those parts down to its plastics, its nickel, its tin, its copper, to do what? To then recycle all the garbage that they can get and resell that as a finished product to different parts of the world. they're playing a game that we will play one day. We will come to grips as we, and thank you, Brother Everett, and all of those who are contributing to this program. Thank you, because you're helping to educate us about the laws that govern us. And it is only through the understanding of those laws that we'll be able to resurrect the UNIA, to rebuild the UNIA. It won't be built, and I'm going to tell you, it will not be built by members of the UNIA dragging in somebody else's philosophy, somebody else's program, thinking you can adapt it to the program of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. You can't do that. The program of the UNIA is so big, it's so comprehensive. You can't take what you might have learned in the Nation of Islam, for example. I love my brothers, I love my sisters in the Nation of Islam, but you can't graft the Nation of Islam onto the Universal Negro Improvement Association. It won't fit. This is too big. They will get lost inside of the UNIA. You can't bring Carlos's Cook's organization and graft it onto the Universal Negro Improvement Association because we're too big. We're too big. Your ancestors became the first and largest mass movement. And nobody's toppled that. Nobody's beat that. Nobody's done more than what the Universal Negro Improvement Association has done. And this Constitution is outlined in such a way that they never will. Without this document, they never will be able to outdo the UNIA. So I'm just simply saying that we can rebuild once we fully appreciate what lies before us in these documents that we're going over now. And I just want to thank you, brothers and sisters who are here today and willing and able to take this book apart so that you can understand it from the front to the back. And before you start thinking about, something better than the founding mothers and fathers of the UNIA and want to change something, understand it first. Spend time understanding this document before you try to change one word of it, because oftentimes we're just not qualified, because we didn't go through the labor of what it took to bring this into existence, to give birth to the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which produced the first and largest mass movement of our people. So be careful and be wise, because you got a powerful document there. When utilized properly by our youth, especially, they will rebuild, because the instructions are right there in the black print. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. Brother Shaka, you brought forth a good point. Something that we've been discussing, and I wanted to get your opinion in regards to the document, understanding the document. We were talking about the position of potentate Supreme Commissioner, and when that position was eradicated or removed from the Constitution. The versions of the 1938 Constitution that I've seen still has those positions listed there. So, do you know if those were still active positions in the time of Mr. Garvey prior to his transition?
Oh, yes. The potentate, if you can spend some time studying the potentate, let's go back to the original question. Where is the black man's king and his kingdom? Where is his president? Where is his army? Where is his navy? Where is his men and women of big affairs? Where is his ambassadors? He said, I could not find them. And then I decided that I would help to make them. Sometimes as a organization, a movement takes hits, there are points where they have to make an adjustment because of that hit, because of that attempt to destroy the movement. And some things you can't do right away. You have to put them off. You don't get rid of them, but you put them off until you're able to build them back up again. You know, in Africa, if the Europeans wanted to take a tribe, destroy a village, and take the tribe and imprison them and enslave them and send them across the seas, they would oftentimes do away with the chief, do away with the king, because you don't have the leadership. What did they say about the snake, Everett? How do you kill the snake? You chop off the head.
That's it. That's it.
And then the body will wither away. So I would say this in furtherance to my answer to your question. Where's your minister of African legions? There are so many officers that are missing that some would almost think we don't need them, but you do. It will come a time under the right leadership, under the right membership, under the right youth, that there'll be a demand to restore our chiefs, to restore our king, to restore our potentate, to restore our high executive officers, because without them, you can talk like you really are about the business of UNIA. But until you can get to the point where you can resurrect all of those things, we aren't talking African legions, universal African legions, just to be having a conversation and just playing military. It's essential that we bring that back and make it strong, because all the work that has to be done has got to be protected. The Universal African Legion has got to protect the UNIA, Universal African Motor Corps. We got to bring them back. They ain't through building cars and building ships and building planes and building trucks. That work still has to be done. They have to be brought back. Our race is still in need of health, education about health, prevention, education about basic fundamental things that need to be done in terms of how we eat and how we live and how we take care of ourselves and how we treat ourselves. Disaster comes, and they come. They came in California just recently. They come in Houston. They came in Katrina. They come, and they always are coming. And what do you think is happening to our people when these disasters take place? We suffer the most. Why? Because we're the least prepared. So the Universal Negro Improvement Association, improvement, embraces all the aspects of our existence. These principles will be valuable. These institutions, these auxiliaries will be valuable. This hierarchy will be valuable for the next 2,000 years. Easy. And so everything, and you just have to, I know some of you are very patient. I've seen your patience, but you must be intentional. These things don't come into existence because a white man tells you it's okay. Go ahead and build your Black Cross nurses, build your hospitals, build your sanatoriums. No, it has to come from within the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and that's only going to take place when we keep doing what we're doing. So turn to to more clarify, section 80 in the Constitution, where it says the oath. The vow that is to be taken by all members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. I'm
here.
When's the last time we've done that? When's the last time we recited that together? We did it once, I remember, but I don't think we do it that often, do we, John?
One time, maybe, not enough at all.
Okay. So, brothers and sisters, this is yours. The objects and aims, they're yours. They don't belong to the alma Marcus Garvey. The preamble, that's yours. These rules and laws, they're yours. So sometimes if we're not where we want to be, we don't throw it out. We don't get rid of it. We don't cut it. We don't remove it. We just keep building until we can get to the point where we can live our reality out. So, presidents of divisions, would you please ask your members to get ready to read this oath? And John or Everett, you can lead it by simply saying what's before you, and then ask all the members to put their name on that line, that blank line. So when you say I, everybody will say their name, and then we'll continue. John, hopefully you can move the print forward fast enough so we can keep up, okay?
Yes, I can take the lead as well. All officers, Division 421, are we ready? Everybody come off mute.
Excuse me.
Lady President, First Vice President, Second Lady Vice President. Brother Art, I see you ready. First Vice President, you ready?
Mar,
Brother Mason,
get ready to do the oath. You want to come in here and join us, please?
Diane.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Brother Mason, you there? Where you at? See what I'm saying? You have to have conviction. Brother Everett, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, here we go. I,
Shaka Barak,
I am Marshall,
I, James Avery, in the presence
in the
presence
presence
of the
of the
Supreme
Supreme
God
God,
of the universe and all persons here assembled, do solemnly
solemnly
vow
vow
that I
that
do
I do
here
here and now
now dedicate
dedicate my
my
whole
whole
life
life
to
to
the
the
Universal
Universal
Negro
Negro
Improvement
Improvement
Association
Association
and
and
African
African
Communities League,
Communications League,
and the cause
the cause
of
of
the
the
redemption of
redemption
my
of my
motherland,
motherland,
Africa.
Africa,
And support
that I
that
pledge
I
I
pledge
pledge
strict obedience
to
and
His Highness
support
the potentate
to its highest
all other state
estate
authority,
representing him. That I shall never disgrace
designated
my
by him
government
that I shall never
present
disgrace
him
myself or
nation
my uniform by
my
insubordination
uniform
any
or
kind
contemptuous behavior of any kind.
any kind,
I shall
that I
discreetly
shall
and to the best of my
discreetly,
ability,
to the best of my
spiritually,
abilities,
mentally, and
mentally and
physically,
physically,
defend the
defend
cause
the
of the
cause of
UNIA
the
and ACL
UNIA
from
and
all
ACL,
enemies within
within
all
and
enemies
without.
within, without,
Also,
and also
build
do
up and
I,
protect
utmost
the
utmost,
morale of the
build
members
up and protect
morale
the
so that
morale
God's
of the
divine
member
purpose
to
peacefully
the
accomplished in the
divine
ultimate freedom of all mankind from the
to the
slavery and
ultimate
desperation,
freedom of all
especially the
mankind,
cause
from
of
slavery
Africa.
and industrialization, and particularly the cause of the redemption of Africa.
redemption of Africa.
Thanks, First Family. You can mute your lines again.
Ashe.
Ashe.
We need to make that more regular. I'll read it just for clarity. What we just said, we in the presence of the supreme God of the universe and all persons here assembled, do solemnly vow that we do here and now dedicate our whole life to the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League and the cause of the redemption of our motherland, Africa. That we pledge strict obedience and support to His Highness the Potentate and all other persons designated by him or representing him, that we shall never disgrace ourselves or our uniform by insubordination or contemptuous behavior of any kind, that we shall discreetly and to the best of our ability, spiritually, mentally, and physically defend the cause of the UNIA and ACL from all enemies within and without. And also we do our utmost to build up and protect the morale of its members to the end that God's divine purpose be speedily accomplished in the ultimate freedom of all mankind from slavery and despoliation, and particularly the cause of the redemption of Africa. It's the oath of the UNIA-ACL. Very powerful, but yes, we must take these things seriously. When we do the pledge to the UNIA, when we do our Universal Ethiopian Anthem, when we do these oaths, it shouldn't just be a routine. You know, this should be a continuous rededication to the principles of the UNIA and a reminder of, you know, what we claim, you know, are striving to represent for our community. So we can't forget these great ideals, and we can't forget these great principles. Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, I was going to go back to continue where we were with the Black Star Line redemption. Division transfers, requirements, Surgeon General, Auditor General. There we go. Black Star Line Redemption Corporation. Section 12B further empowers the UNIA is hereby authorized to call upon its divisions and chapters throughout the world to give an entertainment once per month to raise funds for the purpose of liquidating the stocks and notes of the stockholders of the Black Star Line Incorporated, and the funds shall be remitted to the parent body for the purpose and intent so designed. The parent body is further authorized to print and distribute among its divisions and chapters envelopes which shall be used by said divisions and chapters in soliciting 25 cents from all persons who frequent said entertainments, and the amounts collected together with said envelope shall be immediately mailed to the parent body, and the funds so received shall be applied to the use for which they were collected. So further empowering the local divisions to host events, entertainment events once per month, specifically for the purpose of the Black Star Line stock redemption or redemption of the stock. Brother Shaka, anything you wanted to further elaborate on that before we move to Supreme Deputy? But I think you very well stated, you know, and reminded us of the intentions of our ancestors, you know, although the United States government got involved and got in the way of our progress, we didn't leave any stone unturned, and we were had, you know, made sure that it's written in our laws to make sure that all funds are taken care of.
Well, you know, the other thing is that in terms of our hierarchy, the sisters in each division has a, well, we all have a lady president. Notice that there are 3 vice lady presidents. The male president has 3 vice male presidents. What does that mean? That means that if anything happens to the lady president, somebody can step up. How deep? 3 deep. You would have to get rid of 3 strong Black women if the first one goes down. Immediately, they would step up. Same thing with the men. Immediately, they would step up. Same thing with the office of the President General. He's got 4. 4 deep. So the original idea was that, yes, there might be some challenges, but let's build deep and wide so that if we take a hit, we can still come back strong. Now, John and Everett, and Clyde, we didn't all talk together, but you know, each one of these conferences, Sister Diane, I know you can see that these are valuable conferences. And so if you took and you transcribe, the recording of these conferences, you would have information that would be worthy of any newspaper. It would be worthy of the Garvey's Voice. It would be worthy of any local newspaper, that just these kinds of discussions, because of the magnitude of what we are covering. Yes, history, but we're covering today's reality as well. So I'm wondering, should we transcribe these recordings, especially those exceptional presentations that have been given, and submit them to the Garvey's Voice? Submit them to our local newspapers. And if for whatever reason there was a problem submitting them to our local newspapers or to the Garvey's Voice, what would stop our divisions from creating their own newsletter, a weekly newsletter that could highlight the things that are being done? Certainly, our young people would tell us and could show us how we could put it on YouTube, how we could put it on TikTok or whatever's out there, Instagram, whatever. They know better than I do, but they know they have a medium that they like to use to put their information out there. Why not us? So I just want us to think about the fact that some of the information that we share here is so profound that it needs to be documented, and not just through the Zoom account, but further developed into articles and information that can be disseminated among our people. Brother Everett, you want to chime in on that? Minister of Information?
I think that's a good idea. I had a question though for you. How do we do that? I mean, I know certain things within the UNIA we want to keep within us. So how would we go about that? Just as a suggestion you could give.
Can I chime in a little?
Yes.
We actually have a newsletter, The Whirlwind. I think I'm not sure how widely broadcast it is though, but we have is it bi-weekly? I think a bi-weekly newsletter.
It's monthly.
Currently.
No, we got a weekly. It's weekly.
It's weekly? Okay.
Weekly newsletter. So we can always add to that and bring more. I mean, I don't want to say add to, because the people that are putting it out are putting a lot of work in. I don't want to add to their workload. But there's always room for improvement of anything and adding to, and, of course, with the right amount of individuals to help supporting that effort.
Well, let me ask you, do you, now you're talking about Atlanta, right, John?
Yeah, Ross Marvin still publishing a newsletter weekly, and Brother Art is helping out.
Well, I wanted to ask Sister Diane, do you all take ads?
I don't see why we couldn't, but, like I said, I mean, I'm not as involved in it as I probably should have been, but the folks who are, I mean, they're, Brother Ross, I know in particular, he's sometimes up 2 a.m, making sure it goes out in a timely manner. So I would say we're open to add, but in addition to that, we'd have to be open to volunteers to add certain pieces, and that could probably be their part. But the ultimate decision, of course, would be with Brother Ross, since he's the main person that is making that happen.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's always room for growth, and more room for us to be all that we can be.
If President John and the officers of Division 421 wanted to put together a newsletter for that division, that wouldn't have anything to do with what Brother Ross Marvin is doing. I mean, he could maybe funnel some of the information, inspirational information, into the Division 421's newsletter, but that would be separate. Same thing with Everett. Now, back to your question, Everett. You said, how do we conceal, paraphrasing you, things that we don't want people to know? And what would that be? What are we trying to hide? I mean, if we want people to join, we couldn't hide that we're looking for members. We'd have to put that up front. If you're interested in joining, call so. Or if you're interested in attending a UNIA meeting, we meet every so and so and so and so. So I don't know what kind of information we wouldn't want to share as it relates to building our divisions and attracting people to the work that we do in our divisions. But if there's anything that we don't want people to know, then we don't put that in the newsletter. But that won't be very much, I assure you, because
I got you. That was an excellent and perfect answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if I may, this is a great lesson for everybody, but I hear you loud and clear, Brother Shock, and we should all hear that message. This is the message of Garveyism. Is one of self-reliance, self-initiative. So the question comes down to each of us, we have the ability to paraphrase these gatherings, document our perspective of these gatherings. So, which of us is going to step up and take ownership to document these gatherings for the purpose of publishing them? That's in essence, that's what I'm hearing from Brother Shaka. That's the question that's being asked to the body.
Every week, Brother John, I place an article in the local newspaper here about the UNIA, the Alma Marcus Garvey. And they think it's newsworthy, so they publish it. But do you know that the UNIA had the Negro World, which was a weekly newspaper, right?
To my knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, but it also had a daily paper.
I can't believe that. That's I can't believe that. That's a lot.
Yes, because as Brother Mensah often says, I don't know if he's still on here, but let me see. Yeah, there is Mensah Salim. He would oftentimes say, we got to meet propaganda with propaganda. There's people out here putting some negative stuff on our race every day, every hour, every minute. We got to meet propaganda with propaganda. So yes, the UNIA did that. We had a daily news that was beneficial to the people. And we had 200,000 circulation of the Negro World every week. So some of the things, and remember this, when the Honorable Marcus Garvey first came to the United States, he sent a message out saying, I don't want to post too quickly what my intentions are until I can get the newspaper ready. So getting the newspaper ready was very important. The Negro World was very important before launching a lot of activities, because you could easily, week after week, explain what you were doing and how you were doing it and why you were doing it. And so that the people would never be confused, because they knew, get the Negro World. And it'll tell you why the Alma Marcus Garvey, why the membership was doing what they were doing. But more important than that, all of the divisions that wanted to send articles, all of them, to the Negro world could do that. They were encouraged to do that because when people read the Negro world, they would see what was happening throughout the world in every division. Then some of them were invited to send their work to the Poets' Corner, where the poetry was published. So if you have some powerful poetry, you like writing, send it to the Negro world. So there's certain things that we want to bring back. And even if we just do it on a small scale, because somebody in the division is seeing and participating in the activities that are taking place, and they want the world to know. Even a newsletter that, just goes out to Atlanta, to the people in Atlanta, to the colleges in Atlanta. You got a bunch of them. Then that would be cool. And there would be, of course, institutions, organizations that would be willing to take ads, as I was saying, Sister Diane. We could take ads out for our papers to let them pay for themselves. And then what happens? Eventually, you're able to purchase a computer that you set aside specifically for doing the paper. Then you can purchase a printer that's set aside specifically for getting copies of the paper out. And then some of the people who work on the paper, you may be able to pay them, give them a stipend for the work that they do. But it's because we want to match propaganda with propaganda that we want to think in terms of our own media. And since we have content, these conferences are content. This is the kind of information you can fill up a Negro world with. You can fill up a Garvey Voice with, or you can fill up the Atlanta Garvey News. I mean, it's just so easy to do because of the content. But let me stop there. And any questions or comments about what we've discussed? And if not, then we can go back to the subject of, I think, the deputy you were about to say.
Yes. Just to recap what I'm hearing, to take away the solution based thinking in my mind, and we've talked about this locally. We've just had a concern in this realm. Promotions, media, whatever it may be, publications, regular newsletters. Each division should have, some form of propaganda and some team, responsible for producing, as Mr. Garvey called it, propaganda at his time. In our time, we just call it content, as Brother Shaka said. But what content are we producing? What reading are we producing? What audio are we producing? What video are we producing? And what is the team? What is the focus of regularity of that production? But these shouldn't be questions where we have to figure out how to get it done. These should be questions as to how to reapply resources that we're already working on. If anybody else questions, comments, that's what I'm hearing from Brother Shaka. Each division needs to be focused on our propaganda is the best way from a government perspective to say it. So, Lady President.
Okay, so yes, that's great. I think that when we had like publications like the Negro World, we didn't have a separate publication for each division, but I do believe someone at each division should be appointed to create articles, advertisement, whatever the case may be, to add to one publication. And I think if a publication of sort is in place already, I think we should, focus on our propaganda 100%, present articles from the various division and put it into one publication So we're all kind of on the same page and we're all feeding that publication. You know, could be financially, could be by, you know, adding poetry and things like that. Just create one huge, exciting publication instead of individual little publications at the various division level. But I think at the various division level, there should be one person appointed to present the articles or whatever the case is at a certain said time a week so that it could make it to the weekly or to the bi-weekly publication. And of course, if they miss getting it in, then we may have to wait until the following one. But it should be a case where there's so many things to submit that we have to take turn and submit them in the order that they come in, as opposed to you know, each division doing their own. But that's just my little piece. I mean, it's just an opinion.
Well, you know,
Raised first.
Thank you. They say in the media, in the publication of newspapers, that every one newspaper that's published ends up being read by 5 people, which means that if you put out 100 newspapers, there's especially newspapers, because they oftentimes get circulated from one hand to the next. Sometimes they get left on a bus or left on a train or left in a restaurant. And so somebody picks it up and they read it. So they average 5 people will read every one paper that comes out. Now, if you try to give that responsibility for your propaganda to one paper, let's say the Garvey's Voice, for example, then how many editions of the Garvey's Voice would you have to produce that you could send in for your order and circulate it throughout all of Atlanta? And then, Mr. Commissioner, we're not just talking about Atlanta or Georgia, are we? We're talking about 2 other states. We're talking about a volume of papers that would baffle the mind of somebody trying to get one entity to do that. And the other thing is that quite often there are people in different cities, my city. I mean, if you ask them, you ever heard of the UNIA? No. You ever heard of the Alma Marcus Garvey? No. Why? Because we don't have the propaganda to put out there that says what we are doing and who we are and who he is. So it might be easier. Now, I'm not proposing this as a resolution, but it may be easier if folks are doing something and doing something on a regular basis to sit down, write it up, and publish it. Again, there's the media, there's the internet. That's a means of doing it. But again, something that people can read, we need to do more reading anyway. So this is just food for thought. Just to think about it. If you're not getting enough people coming to your meetings and you're meeting 2 or 3 times a month, you need a vehicle that can get your information out to hundreds of people, if not thousands, on a weekly basis. How that's done, we'll figure it out. But we got to start thinking big, and we've got to think in terms of how we're going to develop our divisions through propaganda, through information, and how we're going to defend our people through propaganda, through information, how we're going to educate our people through propaganda, through information. So the battle of producing a newsletter or newspaper for the local area, I mean, you got a district commissioner, you could have a newspaper for the whole district. Now you got to be able to reach those, set up divisions and reach those. And they may be willing to set up a division. Hey, look, we got a paper that's coming out. You can distribute the paper on a weekly basis and invite people to come to your meeting. We're talking about what's happening on the local level, on the district level, on the international level. Hey, and you'll have access to that paper, and they might have an interest in. Oh, okay, we have a way to get the information out, not have to wait for an annual convention in order to find out what's going on with a local division, or wait 2-3 months for a publication to come out to find out what's happening, when again something could be done on a regular basis. And my mentor used to think there were enough intelligent people in every division that they can produce material that can be published. The faster you can get material out into the hands of the people, the faster you will grow. There's a direct connection with how fast you can put your propaganda out there and how fast you will grow. They're connected. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. Give me a second. I'm trying to move some stuff around in the background. Yeah, but it's a two-pronged approach. The national, international propaganda from leadership and our contribution to that message from a local level. We definitely need to make sure we have those connections. But also locally, that doesn't stop us from having that local autonomy of producing propaganda at whatever rate and whatever reach we feel is locally beneficial for us. So it's both sides. I understand.
I'll give you one more example. The President General and the first Assistant President General came to Chicago, right?
Yes, sir.
And they gave out awards. My wife got one, my father got one, Sister Farrell got one, Sister Gwen got one, Sister Zakia got one. I'm just coming off the top of my head of those who received it, elders that received it. Do you know we didn't have one piece of media to announce that the President General was coming to Chicago?
I see what you're saying. Yes, sir.
I mean, can you imagine what kind of turnout that would have been if we had publicized it through our own media? We didn't. And there's probably a lot of things that he's doing in Philadelphia, in New York, but where's our media that we can use to say he's coming and what he's going to do while he's here? So it's just something to think about. I mean, if we don't have a media piece, we're naked in the world of propaganda. That's it.
Any final comments on that before we proceed with the Constitution?
No,
propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda. I was just gonna say that I do agree with he's saying, for just put it out there. I do talk to every person basically. I'm a barber myself, so I talk to everybody that's sitting in my chair about Marcus Garvey or anything about African history. I try to just hopefully I spark some type of fire up in them, so I want to do something themselves. And I let them know that it's not what people gonna do, but what you gonna do. And that's the question you got to ask yourself, and because that's what I asked myself. So I just want to say that.
Yes, sir. I think that's a question we all ask. That's why we're here, But absolutely, my brother. Correct mindset. Thank you, Brother James. Okay. It's approaching 3 o'clock. We getting into our last hour. So please, if you got any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to let it be known. Supreme Deputy, Section 13, This is currently in the 2021 Constitution, eradicated position along with potentate and supreme commissioner. But it states Section 13, Supreme Deputy shall assist the potentate in the discharge of his duties and shall perform the duties of the potentate in his absence, incapacity, or interregnum. He shall be the potentate's special envoy to attend any function or ceremony that the potentate may be unable to attend himself. Shall attend along with the potentate the opening of the convention and sit next to the potentate. He shall be of Negro blood, and his wife shall also be of Negro blood and parentage. So, seems somewhat of a vice president to the potentate, or second in command, I would say, to the potentate. Is the way I'm reading that. Supreme Deputy, yeah. Any questions, comments on Supreme Deputy? Again, that's a amended position that's no longer active. Our highest office active is our President General and Administrator, which is the next section. Okay. President General and Administrator. Again, just to recap, let me go back to where's that chart? They ever sent me the chart? I'll do with it. Here we go. Just to recenter everybody on the discussion. Had a long discussion there. We're talking about our executive council. We've talked a lot about the background, some of the Black Star Line or Black Star Line Trading and Navigation Company, and now we're getting back to High Executive Council. And we should remember High Executive Council consists of 5 elected positions. Am I sharing the right screen? Yes, I am. I think so. 5 elected positions. President General, the highest position. First Assistant President General, Second Assistant President General, Third Assistant President General, Fourth Assistant President General. These are the 5 elected positions every 4 years. And then we talked about the appointed positions that are appointed by President General. So we're getting ready to read the role of President General. This is the office that Marcus Garvey himself held. All right, President General, Section 14, very important section, as I've repeated several times. President General and Administrator shall be the working head of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. He shall be held responsible to the potentate for the entire working and carrying out of all commands. Shall attend the convention and make a speech in reply to that of the potentate. Shall instruct minor officers on their duties and see that such duties are properly performed. He shall be empowered to exercise a veto power on any financial matter initiated by any individual or by the executive council that may tend to jeopardize or ruin the finances of the organization. Such veto power shall only be used by the administrator in financial matters, and where from his best judgment he is convinced that it is not to the best interest of the organization to permit the carrying out of such financial measures. An appeal may be made to the convention against the veto of the administrator on any measure, and he shall be held responsible to the convention for the exercise of his judgment on the matter. Any questions or comments while I read that briefly? But I see the veto power in regards to a financial matter is important. And obviously the working head of the UNIA-ACL, but it's interesting. It's starting to make sense to me. And it's starting that title, President General. and that relationship of establishing the divisions and the purpose of the divisions, and how the President General must be closely involved with that process. But those are just some of my thoughts as I'm reading this, as I'm seeing the history, and I keep seeing that potentate. So it starts to um, start. I just understand the, I guess, difference in powers or difference in responsibility a little bit better. Any questions on President General and Administrator? Right, excellent. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, currently held by Honorable Michael R. Duncan. President General Administrator, working head of the UNIA-ACL, responsible to the potentate. I believe that's changed to responsible to the Executive Council for carrying out all commands. Shall attend convention, make speech and reply to that. So shall attend a convention and make a speech, shall instruct minor officers on their duties and see that such duties are properly performed.
Now let's stop there.
When I read that again, that kind of hit me different. Go ahead, Brother Shaka.
Here's what happens. In case any of you ever become President General one day, and hopefully some of you aspire to be President General, because there's nothing wrong with that. Every little boy in the United States is encouraged to one day want to be President of the United States. They don't discourage him. They don't say, you should not want to be President of the United States. That's a high office of this country. And a lot of people aspire to one day be its leader because they love the country, love the UNIA, aspire to be a leader if you have what it takes. Now, he said, last thing he read was, he shall instruct minor officers on their duties and see that such duties are properly performed. Now, what is a minor officer?
I would argue any subordinate.
You were good in English, my brother, in school. Yes. But more specifically, you know, the presidents of divisions are, according to the Constitution, to be appointed. Now, I want you to imagine the time when we had 1,400 divisions. Now, the Honorable Marcus Garvey made sure that those people who were running those divisions, both the president and the executive secretary, were people that he could depend on. For example, he could depend on the executive secretary because she would make sure he got the report on what was happening in that division. Appointing the president meant that he had somebody in that office who he could consult with and, how did you say, instruct and see that their duties are properly performed. That's a lot of people that a leader would have to supervise. I mean, it's like, John, as the commissioner of District 5, that would give you, if you had a division in the surrounding states. I think, what do you have? Kentucky? What's the other one?
No, I have South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida.
And Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta's in Georgia.
Oh, South Carolina.
Georgia, Florida. Yes.
Okay,
District 5. Yeah.
So as the commissioner, not only would you have to set up those divisions in those areas. But you'd have to lend some support to make sure that their duties are properly performed, that they have their constitutions, that they have their philosophy and opinions, that they have the Garvey's voice, that they have, buttons, if they're in uniforms, that they have uniforms, that they have insignia, et cetera, et cetera. That's a lot of work for anybody. Brother Marua, he's a high commissioner. He got all of that. That's a lot of work, bro. And you can't do that kind of work any more than you can produce an informational journal once a month, once a quarter for your people. They've got to have access to information on a regular basis, especially as it relates to education, Brother Everett, on a regular basis. Because how fast you educate the members is how fast they're going to grow. Slow education, slow implementation of an educational program, the membership is going to grow very slow. In fact, some of them will die off before they even grow. They'll be like, I quit. They'll be like, giving up. Hey, don't make them bad. It's just the program and the process of getting people educated and trained is too slow. Or maybe it's not dynamic enough. I've heard people say, man, they ain't dynamic enough for me. I need to be involved with something that's dynamic. So it's a lot of work that's involved with organizing people, Everett, say, in the program of a lot of energy, the program of the Ministry of Information. And let's say you got somebody in every division that you work with. And how often do you want to work with them? Let's say you work with them every week. Every week you're having a meeting of those assistants of yours in every division. And maybe a team in every division, so that one person isn't responsible for everything you want to give them, unless you're not giving them nothing. But if you're giving them information, you want to make sure they get that information, so the team might have to come together to get that information. But now it's a two-way street. You administer down and you hold them accountable, but it goes up too. They look to you for leadership, look for you to be correct and exact, look to you to manage when you're a leader. And sometimes that's a lot of managing when you start talking about 1,400 people, 500 people, 100 people that are dependent on you to guide them. And what does it say? He shall instruct them on their duties and see that such duties are properly performed. How do you know when a duty is properly performed? You got to check. You got to have a conversation. Hey, how did that go? You don't send people out there to do things and then just forget that you sent them. You got to check up on them to see how it went. Sometimes you got to go behind them and see what work was done. Like in a factory, right? Guy's supposed to clean the floor over there, sweep and mop the floor. Well, you the supervisor, you go over there and check. Is the floor, did it look like it has been swept? Yeah. Does it look like it has been mopped? Yeah, okay. Then you got to check. But 100, 200, 300, everybody ain't made to interact with hundreds of people. Because some people, if you come up short and lacking in terms of your responsibility, your accountability, your punctuality, your regularity, then people will raise questions and could make you feel uncomfortable because it's a two-way street. You ask questions, they ask questions. Like in class with your students, right? If you teach, You teach them something, then they are able to ask you questions, and you're able to ask them questions about what they should have been learning. So they want to ask you questions, make sure they understood what you said. But you just can't go in and lecture and leave out. You got to wait for the questions. Hey, teacher, excuse me, help me. I didn't understand what you meant by. Can you explain that? Can you explain that? So I'm just saying, in short, being a leader in the UNIA carries with it a lot of responsibility, because you can't be a dictator, Donald Trump. You can't be a dictator in the UNIA. You got to have relationships with people, especially people that you appoint. So if Everett said, well, look, I want to expand the Ministry of Information into the divisions. I need assistance in every division. Y'all find somebody in your division that I can work with. And John says, okay, we got somebody that'll work with the Ministry of Information. And somebody else said, yeah, we got somebody. Now you got to work with them. You got to answer their questions and their concerns. Hey, Everett, you might have to come down there every now and then. How about that? Come to Atlanta and see your people and let them see you. Let the community in Atlanta see you. Now, if you don't really want to have a relationship with Atlanta, then don't set up an assistant down there in Atlanta, because you'll never go and visit. You'll never build a relationship with them, and they'll never build one with you. But we can't be out there one person and we got a ministry, one person and we're a commissioner, lady president, and there's only one lady president. We need them all. We need to make sure everything in the division is functioning. So when we talked about earlier about the potentate, yes, there will be a time when he will come back. But in the meantime, you got all of these positions inside of these divisions that need to be filled. You got all of these positions inside the High Executive Council that need to be filled, inside the parent party that needs to be filled. We ain't even started yet. And so some of these things, they'll take care of themselves. We'll get to them. But in the meantime, make sure your division is strong. So yes, when you say he shall instruct minor officers on their duties and see that such duties are properly performed, I could apply that to every officer, every lady president, every male president, every commissioner, every minister, every ambassador, every high executive officer, every assistant president general, and the president general. Everybody ought to follow this rule. Instruct the minor officers, those that are under you. If you don't have any under you, put some under you. Build some under you. Expand the work that you do. So you may live in Baltimore, but your voice is heard down in Atlanta. Not because you get on this conference call that we have, but it's heard in Atlanta because you got people down there that's representing you, that's sharing the information that you've provided for them to share with the people in the community. And so they know you, even though you're not down there. But then again, when you can, go visit. And brothers and sisters, John, I know you know how to hold a, convention. I know you know how to hold a high executive council meeting. Some of you have had those. Brother Mensah has had those. Some of you all have had those. What does that mean? That means you can bring the Minister of Information, if you want, to Atlanta, but you got to build it up. You got to make his trip worthwhile. If he's going to spend several hundreds of dollars, that's just for transportation. He shouldn't have to stay in a hotel. If anybody lives in Atlanta, then they ought to be able to put him up. That'll save some money. He'll give you a little something, but he shouldn't be paying a whole hotel bill. He should stay among his people in Atlanta. And you should, encourage the people to come out and hear him. And then when they come out and hear him, of course, lift your donations. Get your membership. I mean, if he comes to Detroit, if he comes to, well, I said Detroit, but I mean Detroit, if he comes to Atlanta, if he comes to Chicago, and we don't recruit anybody, we don't raise any money, and the Minister of Information has come here, then he's a waste of time. So we got to make sure that not only does he come here, but he sets this town on fire with unadulterated Garveyism. And that we go out of our way to promote him coming here. We do everything we can to let people know, let the community know, let our friends know, let our family know that Everett Winchester is coming to Chicago. And everybody ought to be there because he's going to deliver a dynamic message as the Minister of Information. You're going to hear things you never heard before. You're going to hear an oratory that you never imagined before. You're going to hear some passion and some dedication and commitment coming out of the mouth of this man that is going to amaze you. And you can read about it in the next edition of the Atlanta Garvey paper. You can, yeah, there you go. And you can read about it before he comes. Because if you got your media piece together, I mean, look how many officers you could bring to Atlanta. You got the Minister of Information. You got the Attorney General. Now, you might think that Attorney General is just the pencil and paper kind of guy, right? But the Attorney General, he's got a mouth. He's got passion. He's got things that he's concerned about in terms of laws, in terms of, different aspects of the Constitution itself. He could make an excellent public speaker if he was willing to come and speak on the principles of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. You got the High Commissioner General. Oh, man. When he shows up, you ought to have all kind of commissioners from different parts of the country showing up that want to be there when the High Commissioner shows up. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's time for us to have our propaganda both in the printed form and in terms of public speaking. Even if we had to sit down, Sister Diane, with some of these brothers and sisters and say, we're going to learn the art of public speaking. We're going to learn the art so that we can go out here and talk to the public, talk to the students at the universities and colleges, academies, and schools, talk to the children. Let's perfect what we are out to do. Two things. One, organize. We're out to organize our people, not just mobilize them. Mobilize them is almost temporary. You bring them together and then they go on about their business. Organizing is to keep them, to maintain them, to help develop them. And the other key word is improvement. We're about the business of improving the lives of our people. Get that message out to the people that that's what we are about, and they'll be attracted to that, especially if we be about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka. Very well said. I don't want to add too much to that. There's not much I can add to that. The takeaway is that all of us accepting that responsibility, these qualifications of this highest office, President General. President General Administrator shall be the working head of the UNIA-ACL. Are we the working head of our jurisdiction, of our committee, of our office, of our programs? Are we the working head of whatever it is that we're claiming responsibility and leadership for? Are we holding ourselves responsible to, let's say, the executive body or high council to the carrying out of all commands? So anything that's being asked of us to do locally, whether that's promoting, whether that's supporting a program or increasing our membership, are we carrying out these commands from our leadership? Are we attending convention? Are we prepared to make speeches on, whether that's at convention or at other gatherings locally on behalf of the UNIA, our division, our leadership nationally, or our local programs? And lastly, are we prepared to instruct those that would be subordinate to us? And are we prepared to follow up on the responsibilities that we've delegated to others? And we must understand that, we can't be hypocrites. We have to understand what we're asking others to do. And the best way of doing that and understanding that is by having that knowledge and experience ourselves. So we shouldn't be asking individuals, to clean the toilet better than we can clean the toilet. We have to have those skills. We have to have that knowledge, and we have to humble ourselves at the end of the day in this role of leadership. So that's the first half we should all internalize. In regards to the veto power, we will leave that to our President General. Any questions or comments on the Office of President General before we move to First Assistant President General? And again, that office is held by Honorable Michael R. Duncan, the 10th successor to President General Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Okay, but again, are we all pushing and qualifying, making sure that we are prepared, as Brother Shaka started? All must be qualified and prepared for these positions for leadership. First Assistant President General, Section 15. First Assistant President General shall assist the President General in the performance of such duties of his office as shall be assigned to him by the President General. He shall perform all duties of the President General in case of absence, illness, permanent disability, resignation, or death until such time as the convention shall have elected a new President General. Right-hand man to the President General, first in line to the President General. Offices and responsibilities are those that are delegated to him by the President General. So nothing specific. It's always particular as to the relationship and the skills and experiences of that First Assistant President General. Everybody know who our First Assistant President General is? So to Cecily, you know who our First Assistant President General is?
Is that Brother Duguay?
Brother Duguay. Yes, Brother Raymond Duguay serves as our First Assistant President General, basically somewhat of, Vice President to President General Michael R. Duncan. Any questions on responsibilities of First Assistant President General per our Constitution?
One thing, the First Assistant President General is the person that's next in line for the President Generalship, right? And traditionally, what the first would do is sit down and be quiet. You don't want the First Assistant President General to be out on the firing line. It says that when the President General is primarily not available to fulfill his functions, such as he died, or sick, or incapacitated, then the First Assistant President General can now perform all the duties of the President General. In his absence. But in case of absence, there's a difference between absence, illness, permanent disability, resignation, or death than to take on the President General's responsibilities if the President General is not absent, not ill, not sick, not disabled, hasn't resigned, hasn't died. The Assistant President General just stays put until the President General is absent. Now, how do you become absent? You become absent when you are scheduled to be somewhere, and for whatever reason, you don't show up. For whatever reason, you can't show up. Then the first Assistant President General would step in for the President General. But until the President General is absent, because he can't be there for one reason or another, or that he's ill or permanently disabled, resignated, or dead, then just for security purposes, he ought to stay put. And that's something you who are first vice presidents, first lady presidents ought to understand. You are ready if there's an emergency and the president, lady president, let's say, can't perform her duties. She's absent and she can't be there for one reason or another. You step up. But don't run around trying to take the responsibility from the lady president when she's capable and able of doing her duty, or the male president when he's capable and able and willing to do his duty. Sometimes what we'll have to do, brothers and sisters, we'll have to know what the duties are and clearly understand what they are and which ones you can pass off to somebody else and which ones you can't. Because some duties that a leader has, if they don't perform those duties, then they lose that job. So a assistant has to know when to step in and when not to step in, because our responsibility is to make sure we secure that position in the event that anything happens. And let's pray that nothing happens. John, I need to, and Everett, I need to just say one thing to Brother James Avery. He put something in the chat room. Did y'all see that? I know my wife couldn't see it. She was
like that we all learn how to speak in with that.
No, before that. He asked, was somebody, I don't know if it was me.
Concerning UNIA military?
Yeah, he says he wants to be part of UNIA military. Now, there's two ways to go about that. Everett knows, and as the Minister of Information, he could provide that information. If you didn't know, you know, and you can provide that information for him if it's a question of him wanting to be a part of what exists as the Universal African Legions. And you all can put him up on what's happening with the regular meetings that are taking place. So Avery, just talk to your president. He can get you up on that, okay?
I got that.
All right. Back to you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Clyde. I mean, Brother Shaka, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Hey, Brother John,
yes.
I will not be the president of my division until either my president is absent, or he is ill, or he is disabled, or he resigns or dies, okay? So, not until then.
Well, I got you. I got you. I understand. Yeah. Ooh, these are tough jobs, but it's in the Constitution. This is a responsibility that we must be prepared to accept. Not to say that we want to accept it, but we must at least be prepared if our door is knocked on. Next office would be Secretary General and High Commissioner per the 1938 Constitution, Section 16 says the Secretary General and High Commissioner shall have in his custody all correspondence of the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League, and shall have under control all divisional secretaries, and shall conduct the general correspondence of the organization. He shall attend convention and read reports and answer questions relative to the work of the organization. Shall be the spokesman of the potentate and executive council in convention. Secretary General and High Commissioner. This has been updated. Let me read the. See, I got page 20. Proxy vote, elections, appointments, failure to qualify, term of office. Secretary General and High Commissioner. Oh wow, this don't even have all of the latest updates. So it does have some Secretary General shall have in his or her custody all correspondence of the UNIA-ACL, shall have under his or her control all divisional secretaries, shall conduct general correspondence of the organization, shall attend conventions and read reports and answer questions relative to the work of the organization. What's not listed are the amendment from 2016 and 2018, which speaks of fund for the Secretary General. Secretary General's office may be given $1,000 per fiscal year for expenses. Secretary General will submit a budget proposal outlining proposed expenditures. Then the $1,000 stipend will be forwarded to the Office of Secretary General. And then in 2018, a $500 annual stipend will be given to the Office of Secretary General for travel and or hotel expenses for High Executive Council or convention effective HEC 2019. HEC 2019 was in Chicago. Main takeaway, let's see. Secretary General is responsible for all correspondence, attending convention and reading reports and answering questions. High Chancellor, oh, that's High Commissioner, never mind. So our Secretary General would be the official record keeper of the UNIA. When it comes to our reports, meeting minutes, convention minutes, High Executive Council minutes is a responsibility of Secretary General, and reading reports is also responsibility of the Secretary General. Any questions or comments on Office of Secretary General?
I just want those tallies of the amount, are those 2025 numbers, or are they numbers from the 20th century?
2016 and 2018. 2016, there was an approval for $1,000 per year, and then 2018, an additional $500 for travel and hotel. So it's $1,500 per year for the Office of Secretary General.
Okay.
I said 1,000 per fiscal year. That's for some budget proposal. Yeah, for a budget proposal, then 500 specifically for travel and hotel. Okay, Assistant Secretary General, Section 17, Assistant Secretary General shall assist the Secretary General with the approval of the Executive Council and in the event of absence, illness, permanent disability, resignation, or death, I would say, or she shall perform all the duties of the Secretary General until such time as convention shall have elected a new Secretary General. So similar to the first Assistant President General, be prepared to assume the office and responsibilities of Secretary General in the event of absence, illness, permanent disability, resignation, or death.
Let me ask you something, Brother John.
Yes, sir.
Brother Winchester, and any other presidents on here. If you have a meeting plan, and let's say the meeting was at 3 o'clock, and you're way across town, and you're not going to be able to make it when the meeting opens up. So somebody's going to have to open up the meeting. Have you ever had an occasion in which any of you leaders have called your assistant leaders and told them to open up in your place until you got there?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have.
That would be your first vice president?
Yeah, first vice president has been able to. Lady president, she can as well. She has not had as many opportunities, but she can as well.
Brother Everett, have you ever had to tell your first vice president to open up because you were running late?
I don't know if Brother Everett still here. His first vice, his brother Bill. You were from 106, correct? Brother Bill Gooden. I don't know if he was an officer. Sister Yvette, Mama Earth, I believe you 106.
Well, the point was simply that that's the way it should go. If you're not able to make a meeting on time, ask your assistant to open up. Or if it's the lady president and she's having a meeting and she's not able to be on time.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to unmute my phone. This is Lady President, Division 106. We do, if ever is late, then I will open up. If the vice president isn't there, I do.
All right. And have you ever had a meeting that you have called as the lady president?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay. And have you had to ask your first vice lady president to open up in your place if you were absent?
We don't have a first a vice lady president. It's just usually me if ever isn't present, and as the vice president isn't present at that moment, or if they're running late, then I'll open up.
All right, but you said you don't have an assistant?
No.
Did you have?
I did. I haven't appointed. No, I haven't appointed one yet. I didn't know that there was a vice president, lady president. I wasn't.
Excuse me, Sister Yvette Williams, Mama Earth. That's a beautiful name. I like that garment you have on too.
Thank you.
Yeah, black fatigues. So
Yeah,
I need to address this because in every division, oh, you couldn't, did you hear me when I had said that among the lady president, under the lady presidents, is 3 assistant lady presidents or 3 vice lady presidents? Did you hear me when I said that?
I didn't hear that part. I'm just leaving the event. I had you on, but I said I was had to hurry up and leave so I can jump on and be present. So if you any questions or anything I need to answer that I could. But no, I didn't hear that part. But yeah, definitely, I didn't know that there was a vice lady president. I didn't know.
Brother John, help me now. If I mean, these should be fundamental things that she knows she can have 3 vice lady presidents working with her. So if anything happens to her, then they can step up. There's a program that you're going to do, and it specifically involves the women, the ladies of the division, or issues pertaining to the ladies of the division, and you feel that you all could better handle that than John could handle that, then if you, they would be your assistants to make it happen. And then if for whatever reason you weren't available, they would step in. So how, John, help me. How is it that she doesn't know?
Oh man, why you doing this? Mama Irvin, you say you Baltimore 106, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not
Oh,
brother.
I'm sorry, John, but you know where I was going. Man, that hammer was getting ready to come down. Okay, so
Oh, you thought that was you thought she was Atlanta?
say, babe, Kamara, what you say?
I said that you all had that conversation.
Yes. She wasn't in the conversation earlier when we talked about the
No. Yeah, I joined in after I left the event.
What
so
about the last time you were here?
It was cleared up last time.
My wife is saying the last time we met, John, it was clarified that there are 3 assistant or 3 lady vice presidents. The lady president, first lady president, second lady president, third vice lady president in every division. There ought to be.
Yes.
But you don't have one?
I don't have one, but I know that there are 2 that is a part of the division that since I am present now and I'm getting that information, then I will talk to President Everett about that because that would be a great help. Because yeah, that would be a great help because as many of us do, we have full-time jobs. So if I can't be present or I try to make myself present at every meeting or sometimes I can't because sometimes I am at an event or I'm working. So that would be a great help. And I do have a sister that she's a part of the Black Cross Nurses because I'm also matriarch of the Black Cross Nurses that I definitely see. She's been there 100% beside me. So I can talk to Everett in regards of that. So thank you.
Yeah, that sounds like a prime candidate for a first, second, or third. Sister, since we're on this subject, excuse me, Sister Yvette, Sister Diane, I think I heard John say that not only are you the lady president, but you got some vice president, lady presidents too. Is that right?
That is correct. We've got first, second, and third lady vice president.
You hear that, Sister Yvette?
Yes, I hear that. Yes.
How many did she say she had?
Correction. We have 3 offices. Only 2 are staffed. Our third lady vice president is open. It's an open position.
I stand corrected.
Okay, so the record's showing that there's the lady president and the first and the second.
Correct.
Okay, but that's pretty good anyway. All right, because we want to live up to this Constitution. And good luck, Sister Williams. I'm sure that Brother Everett will do everything in his power to
He
assist.
does. Yeah.
No, assist you in getting those vice presidents lined up
Okay.
and in place.
Okay.
I know he does
Okay.
to help you because I can see by your uniform, and your headpiece. Is that a headpiece or is that your hair?
But that's my locks.
Looks good. All right, John. How we looking? You got what?
10 minutes.
Now, in terms of vice presidents, what you got?
We 3 vice presidents, 3 first, second, third male vice president. So we have president and then 3 vice presidents.
Oh, congratulations. Ever here yet? Ever get back?
No.
No.
Yeah. See, ain't none of my vice presidents on. I was like, what's the value of it if we can't show up?
Ain't absent. You're not absent, ill, or
exactly. Well, nah, I don't want to hear that.
No, you know your people. Make sure
how they gonna be able to carry the constitutional discussion.
I'm getting ready to erase some people. I was just telling Clyde the other day, you missed so many meetings. I mean, not him, but the members, officers, trustees missed so many meetings. They out.
Oh yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
out. I'm not playing this year.
Oh yeah. I'm with you, my brother. I was just thinking about that as well. Like some names in my contact list in my email group that not really responding. I need to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, just check with the rules, the laws. It says the officer that misses 3 consecutive meetings. You hear me, Sister Yvette?
I think it's 2. I thought it was 2.
Just 3.
Let me see, man.
Unexcused.
Okay.
3 unexcused absences from a meeting, and they're gone. You just quote the Constitution to them. Say, I'm sorry, bro. We had to fill that position. And then you have the power to appoint, which is what Everett can do for you, Sister Yvette. He can appoint those vice presidents for you.
Okay.
If they're interested in signing a contract that they'll devote their entire lives to the UNIA, that's a heck of a contract, ain't it? But that's the oath we took earlier, wasn't it?
Yes, Brother Shaka, hold on now. See, look, this is where I got 2. I thought it was 2. Section 12, term of office of local division, term of office of each officer of a local division shall be 1 year. Each time said officer may be transferred re-election to his or her position. Shall not apply to executive secretary. Suspended or dismissed officers shall have no right or claim promotion, transfer, or re-election to office. This shall not be interpreted to mean officers whose position may have been declared vacant by non-attendance at 2 consecutive meetings. So this is, I guess, it's officer positions can be declared vacant if they're not in attendance for 2 consecutive meetings.
You're absolutely right. Now, if the person loses their office, that doesn't mean they lose their membership in the UNIA. So the oath still holds.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For the balance of their life.
Yeah.
Okay, good. How much time do we have?
Little 9 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna end on time today, if humanly possible.
And just in regards to the 2 consecutive for officers, leaders, financial secretaries, any division or subordinate society failing to make its monthly report to the Office of Secretary General for 2 consecutive months shall forfeit its charter, and parent body shall proceed forthwith to reestablish jurisdiction over said division or society by re-election or appointment of new officers for its administration. We've been given grace over the years, but we should understand per the Constitution, we only allow 2 to miss 2 months. So we need to be
reporting.
Yes, by not reporting 2 consecutive months. So we've got to get used to that regularity, look forward to that regularity, and be a part of, the leadership to enforce, hey, we hadn't talked about financial report in 4 weeks, 6 weeks. What's going on? This got to be a regular discussion.
Yeah, so that the Constitution is a living document that we don't just have on a piece of paper, but we're trying to make it live through our actions on a day-to-day, week by week, month by month, year by year. So this is a great discussion that we're having. If all your officers aren't here, those that are here, I think they're going to take a lot away from the conversation and the discussions that we've had and the literature that we've went over in reference to our Constitution. So thank you again, Brother John.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the Constitution. There's a lot that we can discuss in regards to Garvey and Garveyism, the UNIA, philosophies and opinions. Y'all know how much I love Message to the People. But and the Constitution may not be as flashy or as charismatic as some of the other documents, but we have an obligation to learn this information, to study this information, and commit it, to not only to our minds but to our hearts, so that as Brother Shaka says, we're not just acting and playing UNIA, but we are fulfilling the UNIA-ACL Constitution, and the only way to do that is to know it. So I look forward to these sessions. I'm pulling more and more out every time we get together. This vision of the UNIA and structure is making more and more sense. We have to make it apply on our level, on our division level. So the expectations will continue to increase. Our standards for acceptance and for what is Garveyism in our time will continue to be applied per the Constitution. So more for us to learn, more for us to do, and a lot for us to improve upon. So that's all I've got. Anyone else? Any comments in closing? Lady President, you want to say anything?
I think I'm good. Great meeting, everyone. I think we touched on pretty much everything.
Well, let's see. We just got to some of the elected offices, president, assistant president general, president general, assistant president general. So that would apply to first, second, third, fourth assistant president general. And we just barely touched on secretary general and high commissioner. So we were getting into the appointed offices, but we were still in the high executive council and the constitution portion of the Constitution. As the Constitution says, the laws are comprised in three different sections: one, the Constitution; two, the general laws; and three, the bylaws. So we still got to finish up the Constitution. Yeah, we just read First Assistant President General, Secretary General, High Commissioner, Assistant Secretary General, Second Assistant Secretary General, and we stopped at High Chancellor. Counsel General. Man, he's some good. All of this stuff is critical offices, pillars of the success of the UNIA. So, Brother James, you got a question?
Yes. So I heard you say at one time about people inviting people to certain meetings. When will we be able to do that?
I mean, any meeting that you've been invited to, you can share. I don't think there's been any private meetings that, yeah, that would be like executive meeting or a business meeting that we have during the week. We've even opened up our study groups to ordinary members as well. So Saturday meetings, Sunday meetings, Tuesday meetings, you're always welcome, as well as inviting other brothers and sisters.
All right.
Anyone else? 357, been a great program today. Look forward to reviewing this and publishing it on YouTube. We will have our Africa program that we did last week will be available this evening. Got about 30 minutes left to edit on that file. So
Beautiful.
all right, Brother Shaka, anything in closing?
Well, I sent you a copy of my article in the newspaper. Did you get that?
Was
this digitized now?
Digital, the Chicago Crusader?
Yes.
I do have a copy of that, yes. You want to share that with the family?
Yeah, with your members.
Not a
And
problem.
everyone is welcome to read it. It's on the posthumous pardon of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. There it is.
Let me grab the actual article. I'll drop that in the chat as well.
And I think you probably have to give them a couple of minutes to copy that.
Well, no, I'm gonna drop it. I didn't mean to share that long.
Yeah, I wrote this article February, I think it was the 1st, or shortly after that.
You want me to read it for you?
Just a portion of it.
Okay, let me know when to stop. I'm gonna just let me know. This is by
Where's Brother Art at?
That's a good question. Brother Art, Brother Art, you out there?
Yes, sir. Raise first.
Brother Art,
Brother Art read it.
Man's alert. Thank you, Brother Art.
All right, put some fire in it, Brother Art.
Can you see the screen, Brother Art? Can you read this for us?
Can you make it a little bigger?
All right, 1 second. I think I can do that.
Okay.
I'm seeing a little black box in the front of your share screen. John?
Shouldn't be. That's probably on your, I don't know. It's on your phone or?
No, this is my computer.
Does it say talking President John?
There's nothing on it. It's just a black rectangular shape.
All right, let me do this.
President John has started screen share. That's what it's.
Okay.
Anything look better?
Do you see that, Brother Art? This little rectangular box?
Yeah, I got it's a record button, looks like.
Sister Diane, do you see that box there? That rectangular box? Black? Yvette?
Man, I'm gonna have to log on my phone.
I'm not seeing it for some reason. I'm on my phone though. Oh, you mean okay. It's gone now. It was in the upper left.
No, the share screen right in the center of share screen.
Okay. If you click above it, it'll go away. Like right above it, just click, it'll go away.
This is not going away.
Doctor, it's just a few minutes and we'll get ready to close out.
All right. Why don't we do this? Those who would like to read my article on the posthumous pardon by President Joseph Biden Jr. On the Honorable Marcus Garvey, what President John has put into the chat room, that is the link. And when you click on that link, it'll pull up the whole part. And the picture of the part too. know some of you all haven't seen that official document, executive grant clemency, but it's on this document as well. So that way we don't have to hold you here any longer. And if you can't pull the link, you can't copy the link, then John can send you the link via email, right, John?
Yes, of course.
All right, 421. Y'all can close this out.
Our pleasure. Brother Art, I think you'd be our next.
I'm sorry, brother. I
officer.
know I invited you to read the article.
No problem, brother. No problem.
For time's
Okay,
sake, just send it to him.
everybody raise your right fist in the air.
All right.
Repeat after me. One God.
One
One
God.
My God.
One aim.
One aim.
Aim.
One destiny.
One
destiny.
Destiny.
Africa.
Africa.
For the Africans.
For the
Africans.
Those at home.
Those
Those at home.
And those abroad.
And
those abroad.
Race first, family.
Race
Race
first.
first.
Brothers and sisters.
Right, y'all. Have a blessed weekend.
Peace and black power.
Yeah, peace and black power. Race first.
All right, family.